Welcome. We're live tonight. It is the 13th. Oh my gosh, February on someone's calendar. And it's great to be back. I was on the road recouping a little bit. We'll talk a little bit about triaging and stuff like that, but I'm so glad you're with me. So February the 13th today, it's Friday the 13th, and we are coming up here at 5 p.m. Pacific. And I think I'm going to just, in case you're a little excited, I think I'm going to do something actually on Sunday. So stay tuned for Sunday evening. I got some things I think in the work. We're going to start doing maybe Friday and a couple Sundays, depending how this goes. So I want to welcome you to my show, Karenann macdonald. So I have got a whole bunch of stuff for you. We're in the chat room. I'm watching that. I can multitask. Okay. And so one of the things in here, I'm going to put a couple show links. You guys are going to be very excited if you haven't seen it. Let me know if you have seen it, because I just did an incredible one here with Kerry Cassidy. So I did my third thing, and I've been talking to Kerry on and off for I'm sure a decade. But anyway, I've only done 3 shows. So I'd like to go 2004, 2005, and this is my 2006 show. And this time it was really great. The first hour is a little bit more about a health thing, but if you just like the nitty gritty, jump into the second half, because I just let loose. I really did. So I was there with Debbie Drake, who's a former medical doctor and into the bioresonance as I am, Ayurvedic, traditional Chinese medicine. And we went totally holistic, and we went totally complementary, alternative medical. And so you're going to see actually the two of us. And she's got a really cute PowerPoint I asked her to put together. So if you just want to see that, and get that over with, that's great. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what we did there, what we talked about. I'll show you where to go. And then the other thing that we did as well is I just got off doing the Galactic Goddess with Silma today. So I was talking to Ireland. So I've been all over the place, been to Deb was in actually just north of Toronto, Ontario, and Kerry was in California. So we had a well-rounded, we were anchoring some energies here if you start triangulating us. So I want to thank you for joining us. There's a couple of you in the room. We got Healing Touch is in here, and High Vibe Tribe is in here too. Yay. It's going to be another fascinating discussion. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what was going on. I got to watch some of the words because I don't want to get my third thing here and lose it. That would not be fun. I've already been given 2 little things against my channel, so I got to watch my language here. So anyway, if you have any questions, if you want to touch on some of this stuff, absolutely, that's what I did. I wanted to go with Kerry, and a lot of people like to keep it just to health or whatever, but I find if we don't reach out and touch someone, or you find some common ground, what are we going to do, right? So one of the things in here, which was absolutely amazing, and it was not, we'll just say, YouTube friendly. So we're going to go back into that, and I'll take a look here for you guys. And one of the things in here is to take a look at what we started with. And, it's basically the, I'll say the second version we've had to put up this week. So what happened is there was some stuff, the actual camera was running. So I put a whole bunch of links up, and I got to go redo them all, because what happened is with those links is that there was actually, she had the camera running, and she was actually putting her makeup on ahead of time. And I'm if people ever think we planned this stuff, oh, this is co-opted or whatever. No, absolutely not. She was putting her makeup on, didn't realize she had run the camera live. So she had to go back and chop off 8 minutes of it, on that. So it was kind of funny. I decided I should do my hair too. So I went out to the bathroom because I thought we had a few minutes, right? I thought the intro was running. So, you miss me leaving the chair, and you see what's going on with her. So it was kind of a funny moment, and some people appreciated it, some people didn't. And I think we have to remember that everyone is doing the best they can, and we've all screwed up things. So, oh yes, and Daria's here too. So we're starting to get the group together. I know a few people have contacted me because of what was going on, and I will explain a little bit what's happened during the last couple of weeks. So I'm sure you guys are all excited to catch up here. So one of the things in here is we will look at the screen here, and one of the things I want to bring you over here is this is the actual video that we did. Okay, so you can bear with that. If you don't want any closed caption here, we can toggle that off. And so one of the things in here as we're talking is that is actually basically Debbie Drake out of Ontario. I asked her to join me because she's Seriously, one of the best therapists. She's run something called Health Safaris. It's paid classes. It's about $50 US a month to join. So whatever that breaks out to, like, $13, $14. But anyway, she started talking about that. It's a private members thing she's into. And then I go in and talk a little bit in here. And then basically she's got a really great PowerPoint in here. So we start talking a little bit about the semantics. And I asked her to talk about, and she liked it. I said, I'm talking about the tones, the tones of creation, right? We want to talk about the creational tones, right? The vibrancy, right? Not English, not British, not American, right? But what light language is, it's the tone of creation. So anyway, I had her put a little PowerPoint up there so you can take a look at it. It was actually quite cute. And then we go into basically the bioterrain here. Okay, so if you're listening to what Sabrina Wallace is talking about here, we are talking also about what's called the nervous system. So you've got a peripheral nervous system, kind of like your little fingers and dendrites going out, and your central nervous system. So we talk all about that and really what the bioterrain is, working on the different elements here and how that works, how that interfaces, and why it's so important that the bioterrain and getting the biofield together. So again, all these are different frequencies. They're all different kinds of waves, and we talk a little bit about that. So the electrical, the magnetic, and the sound part, the acoustical part, right? The inner stuff is always the fluids and the minerals and all the, biochemistry and alchemical part. So that's a really great thing to kind of take a look at. And then basically we've got to remember the problem being is that a lot of these so-called, we'll just say, devices out there right now are basically, or computers are binary, ours are not. We were one of the first ones to start developing quantum computers for health. And that's where we're using amperage, volts, and resistance, right? It's called a trinary computer. It's called quantum computers, you guys. So we could look at people in different ways. And the idea is basically to get you back into a state of coherency and get rid of that, get into the wellness versus the illness. So everything is connected to the pH. I always talk about that. And, that's the most important thing. I had another great example of it working with people like in the last week in the Okanagan. So basically, as Sabrina talks about, even the injections, if it's got graphene, it's not what it is, axine, right? So this is one of the things in here. And we're just getting into electrical overload and artificial frequencies and blah, blah, blah. And it's scrambling basically our signals. We've got everything coming here. Then when you add the chemistry part of it, and the toxins, well, holy enchilada. So this is where you get a loss of being in the center point, in peace, in homeostasis, call it whatever you want, balance. That's basically what's going on here. So I'm going to just go through this real quick here. And again, it's to get into a state of happiness, joy, bliss, co-creation, excitement. And we have to, this is what I really want to focus on, is with all the stuff that's been coming out with the, epi stuff that came out, right? People are getting emotionally triggered. I will talk about something that happened up here, British Columbia. We had a mass amount of children taken out. And I'll talk a little bit about what was happening with these children. I've got so much stuff on my Facebook and on my inner group. It would make your head spin too. But this is what's happening is we're getting emotionally triggered. It creates a chemical response, an electrical, and a magnetic response. And basically, people are going into just a state of inner chaos before they find everything else that's going on there. So we got to it's not even detaching. You literally just got to come back to a stage of neutrality because we don't want you getting exhausted. You want to be in a state of regeneration, not generating. We need to regeneration. And most people are actually degeneration. They're getting totally exhausted. The whole mitochondrial is dropping and all sorts of things here. So we are going with the three different things here. You have to have light, magnetism, and sound. And that's where we're coming in with some of our technology. So anyway, excellent little presentation here. And why are we using the voice? The voice holds the signature. It's an output. It's a speaker. Not only that, it bypasses your conscious mind. So we're actually tapping into the unconscious part of the people. And we're tapping into the biofield, right? And everyone's got a unique signature, its frequency, and you can muscle test it, just like we got a couple different, dolphins in there working with their little sonogram. So this is a really great point. And again, I've always talked about 0 point, whether you call it like peace, balance, call it whatever you want. We are going to basically be reflecting. So if they come at us with negative energy or a negative tapeworm or a negative pharmaceutical or a negative shedding, boom, guess what? We're going to mirror it. We identify it. We can find it. We're going to invert it. That's what you call reverse engineering. So that's what we're doing. We're looking for what's in the hidden stress patterns in the biofield. So this is actually a really great little presentation. So hopefully you'll like it. It's not long. When you get into the really cool stuff at the back end, what you're going to see is me talking about everything else here. And that's where we go into a whole bunch of stuff. I started going into pole shift. I went into Madrid lines. I went into the Crescent Valley volcanoes, all the stuff there, the Schumann wave, the solar flares coming. August 12th, guys, mark my words on someone's calendar, but that alignment date of the solar eclipse, there's some stuff that can be triggering all those up. So I want you to take a look at that. That again is on my Facebook here. Another thing I talked very little, but a little bit about what the great celestial galactic queens were, what galactic law, cosmic law is, going into that. Also covered a little bit of all these things. We talked about James Rinks. We talked about the super soldier project. I talked about all the people that gave him all those things there and my own experience. People gave me patches. Guess what? I had a heart attack at 4 a.m, basically. My other client went into respiratory COPD and actually quit breathing and couldn't breathe. My other client, blood pressure shot up to 220 on 146, and she had basically a stroke. So these things are not for everyone. If my copper level is fine, why the hell would I put a patch on and put myself into an overload? And again, there's differences in blood types, copper-based and iron-based. So lots of things. I just gave a little thing. I said, you guys want to go look this up? Go look it up. I have no problem. And that's one of the things here, is to bring people back to a state of coherency. Because like I said, it was a great talk and I really, really liked it. So if you're into all that stuff, we started finding what was actually the common ground that we had, right? It's not about the differences, it's not about the differences that we have. It's about finding that common ground in there. Like I told her, I don't have to like whether you put a hairbrush through your thing or you put some, makeup on. Apparently people didn't like her putting her makeup on. So she had to delete it and re-release it. So those particular things, or a religion, or the way people worship. And again, this is where we got to look at stuff. But I want to look at the cold, hard truth, the cold, hard data, just like a mom, tough love, right? We need to do that. So if you look up, scroll up, way up. I think I was like the friendly giant, Rusty, way up. Anyway, you will see that I actually put some of those links up there. So the links are up in the chat room, how to get a hold of me. If you want some one-on-one time, do we want to do sessions? Do you have a question? Where can we help direct you? So yes, thank you. How are you this evening? Nice to see you. And you say you can't wait to teach, watch them either. Yeah. Anyway, I really enjoyed having Kerry. I've always, people can talk, but you know what? It's my relation with that individual, right? Like I said, their perception, we all have different viewpoints. I haven't sat down from some of the people, and she was in a round table the other day and she said, what colors was his eyes? Right? She says, not the one I saw. Right? And that there's 2, 3 of them. So again, who knows? I don't get into that kind of stuff. So Healing in Touch wants to know, did I put them on my Facebook to watch or Rumble? Both. So take a look at that. This is the whole thing about the coherency and stuff like that. We have to be coherent. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. So I just also got off one of the other shows that she's actually going to be able to keep it. And the reason why is because we talked about a lot of stuff. So I just did a really cool one here with Soma. And one of the things in there, it's called Galactic Goddess. We'll go into that a little bit here. So actually, I'll just show you where to find that one. So in here as well, let me just flip over. We're going to have on like a couple different servers here just to get this through tonight here. So one of the things here I'll show you is called Galactic Goddess. And we will go here and you will see where to find it. So I'm going to go onto a different server here. It's called Soma Ara Palladian Channel. Okay, Kashak reading. She's over in Ireland, in the great thing across the pond from me. So it was supper there and I was having like before lunchtime. So this is what we did today. This is another one as well here. I started talking with Soma here. And what happens again is she does a lot of roundtables. She's been to a lot of these Star Nations. She's been to a lot of these disclosure conferences. You saw her in the ones in Florida. So she's one of the people that will fly over across the pond. I won't get into the plane. But again, she's got some amazing interests, and she's been bringing a lot of women together. And actually, the way we got blessed is actually, it was just me today. So I started talking about a lot of things here that might be of interest to you. She asked me about blood and genetics, and what did I know about, ETs and aliens and blah, 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 blah. So we went through some really interesting stuff here. And this is on this channel, by the way. So I actually brought her to this YouTube of mine. And this part is in my Facebook. And actually I said, most people don't know what the definition of the United States is, or they don't know what Canada is. And I just told her, I said, Canada is the 12 miles of navigable sea, ocean, water offside the beach, right? Which is being dissolved. But anyway, I went through a bunch of stuff here. I said, you know what? I've been to these conferences. It's not like I, fell out the turnip truck like the next day, or, in here. We talked again a little bit about other things like blood types. I showed her, she says, I've never even heard of half this stuff. I said, neither is most medical and naturopathic doctors I've ever heard of either, right? Again, different information. We talked about tracking who you are, coming back on your mother's side. But these blood types, like I said, interesting stuff. You can get an Eldon card there and get your own. These are actually, there's about 60 types most people don't know about. Kept secret here. So these are some things that you can jump through. I talked about why we wanted to shut down the corporation of the monarchy and the crowd. And like I said, most people don't know about it. We talked about different star nations here. What is original law? What is the law of the women? Don't worry about the private and the public and all that kind of stuff. Know who you are. Law of the land is the law of the women. And this is where you did. I started putting things together under my playlist, right? Don't worry about the titles. Worry about what that law is. I mean, I don't care about that law. That's an F flag. And you can fill in the blank for a couple effing flags that are happening these days. Again, covert operations, right? Read through it, right? Difference between natives and bands and reserves that got tokens and get paid off by the crown versus the people that are hereditaries that don't and suffer. Okay, big difference. And documents that we sent off to the monarchy and about 30,000 other things. These are actually marched into the generals. Who is Meredith Quinn? Who is the Dakota Nation? Things like that. This is all the law, sedation, rebellion, blah, 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 blah. You can take a look at in every little conspiracy you want. But these are the ones that she goes, holy crap, my brain's on overload today. So you can go back and take a look at those. Those are the actual links I've put in the chat room for you. So hopefully you will enjoy that. So was that enough for you today? Okay, so you're on my channel. So the thing to do is to go to that channel. And I'm going to put in the chat room for you right now a little bit about what that is. And that's on my playlist here. So I like doing playlists. It's my new favorite thing. I'm collecting things for myself. If anyone wants to peek into them, I'm going to give you where that is and where you can look at. So this is actually the playlist. And this is the law or the peace between for the women. Right? So you can look at that, and then the men would help us. They would help enforce the women's laws. That was their role there. So take a look at that. You might actually really like that. So is there anything on your mind? Is there a burning question you were just wanting to know about here? Oh, and we've got coherency. And I will also encourage people to go into, if you haven't been, I see Robert Bauer is in the room. Robert, comment ça va? So one of the things in here, if you have not seen robertbauer.com, take a look at it. You know, I was going to say, it's not that he's boring, he puts me to sleep. It's because I want to go listen to his voice. It's calming, it's relaxing. There's so much stuff to look at. It could take you weeks just to go through that. So I would really encourage you to go take a look at this, and we'll just take a little boo of that because this is important. These are the people that were pioneering basic medicine, you know, and stuff like that. Let's just take a look at their, where did we go? There you are. There's podcasts, there are books. This is about consciousness. This is all about consciousness and informational technology, and you need to be up on this. These are the people that have been the forerunners in these fields for a long time. The music and the voice artistry is bar none. You have to go listen to this, seriously. And, you know, take a look at some of this music because it is so relaxing. It brings you back to a state of calmness. So that is one of the things I would highly encourage you to go take a look at, because we all need to learn about consciousness. And a lot of people have a lack of consciousness these days, let alone trying to tap into the unconscious part of us, you know, on that. So do take a look at that at robertbauer.com. I'm sure there's going to be a wealth of information. There is a section under his podcast to do with conversations. I'm one of them, by the way, because he has great taste in his friends. We will say that. Anyway, we're overdue. One of the things as well I want to talk a little bit about is what has been going on. Okay. So I took a week or two off because one, I was on the road. Two, I've got massive changes. I'm looking at relocating here within literally weeks, days. And so one of the things in here is we're looking to secure some land, right? And this is something that we just found out, is that I was going to go with some friends in a intentional community. And I just found out a few days ago, that's not going to happen. It's not going to be conscious or intentional. So unintentionally, we are looking for something else. So this is my project for the week. End year is I'm going to go back on the road and we're going to look at some land 25 miles away from any tower, I'll say. And I'm up to like Starlink right now. I'm ready to order it because you can get it within a week. I'll get my little stuff for on the road. You can't believe it. What is it? 50 down the States, like 70 up here. But anyway, way cheaper than what TELUS and everyone else is doing here in Exploret. So I'm going to look at that, and then I'm going to look at with some friends. And it's raw, but you know, I'm in the mood for that right now. I've got some solar panels. I can get more solar panels. So hopefully, you know, there might be a lag of time within a week or two till we're up and running. But it's going to be a massive undertaking. We have to bring in stuff from hours away, massive things. We'll have to lift this home off its rails and literally jack stuff underneath to make it actually mobile. We'll see what happens. Either it's going with me or I'm just leaving, one of the two. So everything is up in flux. So the other thing that was very interesting, I've talked to a few people about it, and I like taking out some of the seniors in this area. And so it's kind of like community contribution and stuff like that. So I like taking the seniors out that are clean and take them out. And we decided to go to the hot springs. It's a 45-minute trip. We'll just say that from my door to the hot springs, roughly there. And I just stopped to go get some tires on. So I have a whole little routine. I'm going out there. We got it figured out. So I dropped off my friend. I could have their lunch or whatever. Did that. And I was going to sit there and get bored for half an hour, 45 minutes to get my tires put on because we thought it was going to snow. Oh no, what happens? I walk in and they said, "Why are you here?" Everyone just went for lunch. I went, "Why would you send everyone for lunch when you booked me at 1 o'clock? And he says, "What are you talking about? It's not even 12:30. And I'm like, "Get out of here." I didn't leave my place till almost 12:30. That just doesn't happen, right? Zoop, zoop. So I don't know if I time traveled. I don't know if we were taken. I don't care, but both of us noticed it. And so I picked him up after I ascertained, no, we know exactly down to the minute when we left and when we arrived. So anyway, I thought, well, this is kind of cool. And then I said, "So how was your lunch?" And he looked at me and he goes, "You're not going to believe this." I went, "Right, today I would go for anything." And on his experience, we had just left my place. He got dropped off, went, ordered his breakfast, got it. They brought it to the table and he's munching on his breakfast looks at the clock and realizes it's like 12:30, and he goes, that can't happen. Right? So both of us noticed it. So I talked to Kerry about this very cool little thing, right? Because I also know that my friend of mine, Miles Johnson, who I'm a conference speaker for the Basis Project, and they just had one in the UK. And what happened to Miles? 3 of them in the car going to see James Casbolt and Bob Osborne, south of Wiltshire in England. Whoops, what happened? Guess what? They changed the scenery. Not only changed the scenery, they were on a different road going the wrong way, on a different highway. So I don't know, there are a few of us that happened. And so what I wanted to do is discuss a little bit about this. I've got a sore paw, and my sore paw is actually a broken wrist part of the arm here. And so one of the things, you can send me a heart. I'll be happy about it. I can take all the love I can get right now. But what happened is that not only being in the hot springs, which I wasn't in the hot springs, I was actually in a cool down pool for most of it. But normally if I'm away from people, I can have an enjoyable time, right? I'm dosed up and mega whatever before I get in there. I watch what I'm doing. This time someone, again, held back information deliberately. In other words, perjury. In other words, they lied to me. And they wanted to get my information, my knowledge, whatever. So I was very close. I was so close. I was touching, if not that close. And in a water with someone transmitting. This is where the ejaculation is the injection, guys. The injection is the ejaculation. I don't care how they get it in and squirt it in, whether it's through a needle and a catheter, it's from above your head, kissing, saliva, body blood fluids, call it whatever you want, sexually transmitted, this stuff happens. And so she was hot and she was radiating and she was transmitting, or, the biofield was activated, and she basically gave me quite the load. And I was literally went unconscious. So twice, actually, within half an hour, I went unconscious, and I was found in the parking lot and breathing very strangely, drooling, almost like a seizure. But that's the anaphylactic shock that happened to me. Didn't bleed this time, but it was enough to whatever. I knocked right out. It hit the nervous system in a different way. Okay. And then basically I refused the ambulances for obvious reasons, right? So I want you to be very cautious about your doing. So everything in here right now is about healing and self-healing. And one, it's probably a great thing that I reacted right away, because when you don't have a reaction, you're just taking it on board. Mine was like, nope, stop, shut down everything. This is bad. This is bad, bad, bad. So that was my way of doing it, because a lot of women, like myself too, whether you're 8 or 88, bleed. I've got clients still coming to me that they're bleeding. Can you imagine, after years, 6 pads a day? This is insane what's been going on to our children. So in here, I've been putting essential oils on. I've been putting DSMO, all sorts of fun stuff, right? If you don't know about DSMO, we talked about it in the book there. And of course, if you don't know about it, we got lots of books here, lots of stuff in here. So this is a driver, and we'll talk about that sulfur in a bit. But anyway, very, very important. So lots of essential oils, castor oil. I got more tuning forks in. If I didn't have enough, every one of those colored ones is one of these. But these are just amazing, and right, this is a double whammy. I love this one. It's like twice your fun. 64. Most people talk about the 128. Guess what? 64, 128. Anyway, these were going on all the different areas here. And then I've got some crystals and some tips and everything else in here as well. So it's been a fun ride. And then, of course, I had to calm down, right? So I wanted to get into the new technology, and this is one of it right here. So this you can hear a little bit. We'll play it in the background. And this actually, I was putting it on so I could do it to relax, right? Or I went, why not? Put some stuff here as well. So those of you, as long as you don't seizure, we'll just put it on here. Sometimes you can hear it and see it, but I had a great experience with that. So we were doing light therapy here. I got alkaline, because you know what happens. The minute, of course it does, the minute I had an insult, an incident, anything chaotic, negative, trauma creates acidity. So the first thing I did was take baking soda and all my alkalizing agents here, okay? This is a must, or get all the ones that you can measure all the different things here. So very, very important, okay? So I have extra stuff here. Just it's that nursing thing where, you know, you put your stuff on here and you clip and you want to check your saturation and your heart rate and stuff like that. These are really fun too. And I was doing my blood pressure, right? Because I want to make sure that I having an orthostatic hypotension, which means your head drops below and you just basically bottom out, right? So it's quite the opposite there. So there we go. We're still alive. It's nice to know. Anyway, on here, and the heart rate was definitely up. So is the blood pressure, stuff like that. So we want to start taking a look at some of these different things. The sound was amazing. Hopefully I'm just going to play this in the background. You're enjoying a little bit of this music, because this music runs through a whole scope of things. And this is why I just love it, because I love the tech stuff. But more importantly, on here, don't know if you guys can see, hey, it tells me what it's going to be doing. What's the music doing to me? Right there, it will tell you which part, theta, which is the bigger part of it, theta, delta, beta. What is it doing to people to calm them down here, right? So this is called the big piece. So I'm keeping it because I feel we want to dissolve some of our, things that are obstructing us. This is a great time. We're moving into new and exciting things. We can change our life. You can create, even with me moving, I'm changing a whole new vision, right? Different area, plot of land, different things for connection and reconnection, right? So one of the things I want to talk a little bit about that was really weird. Okay, how many of you heard about what happened in northern, eastern British Columbia? Okay, up in the Kerry Nations, up there, there's a lot of First Nations up there in the Cree, Swetmac, all those sort of things, nations. How many of you heard about all the children? Did you guys hear about what happened with the mass? All these children died. So I want to talk a little bit about that, because I'm going to watch my language here. I'd hate to lose the channel again. But anyway, one of the things in here is that we had something occur in what's called Tumbler Ridge. Okay. And again, these are things that are, again, people aren't talking about the causative. I think I'm the only one that's been talking about it from that point of view. Okay. And I'm going to go over some of the awful things and what are the root cause of what happened here, because it's not that simple as people tend to think. So you can go look up some of this. I'm just going to watch my language because I'd hate to lose this thing again here. But we're going to go in and we're going to take a look here. So I'm just going to my X account or Twitter account. I also have it cut and paste because a lot of these things are blocked out in different areas. So basically what happened in there is there was, and I can't use those words because we don't want to lose it, but there was, and again, someone that was male biologically, okay, and they actually said, it's like chest person, not breastfeeding, you're chest feeder now. Like, I mean, just it's so screwed up. I can't even get started in here. And so basically, what happened? This Jess is now actually trying to change the gender. We'll just say. Again, you can't change genders. You can surgically mutilate yourself. You can take a whole bunch of chemicals and give yourself a hormonal, again, lobotomy. That's one thing. But what happened is that in order to get these, and this has been going on for several years, that the RCMP were actually called into here because of wellness checks and stuff like that. What I want to say is that in the last 6 years, when this began a process, we have got things like atrazine, we have got toxoplasmosis, all these chemicals and different actually weaponized biotech stuff is actually even being dropped right now in the geoengineering as we talk about it. And I have been finding, as Mike Adams says, as you've been seeing all the lists out, what's going on here, because now we've got like Morgellon type things. We've got fibers. I actually saw local tomatoes here because they weren't organic, but on the GMO tomatoes I was at, watching the fibers come out of them. And I'm going, there's fungus. The tomatoes are growing, but they're growing fungus and fibers, even out of a carrot. I've seen that. Like, do you know what it takes to grow fibers and wires out of that? Quite a bit. So things are being activated here. And this is what happened the last 6 years, is that these people have been taking also the inoculations, the cyber load. They've been literally cyber teched up the yin yang with foreign materials, heavy metals, and everything else. And then on top of it, with the puberty blockers, hormone disruptors. This is not, I'm taking a transgender thing. This is like literally blocking what you're supposed to be doing. It's like growing, let's just stunt your growth, but let's not deal with all that and actually shift people 120, 180, not even, I wish it was 360 degrees, but 180. Okay. And you don't know where you're coming and going. Because of that, the mental and the emotional, not alone the alchemical chemistry that they have, literally altered and bastardized, like any pharma, right? With basically semi-synthetics and synthetics, is that now what happens is you got injections, you got things up the nose before you can go into these treatments, into the hospitals in the last couple of years. And then we're going to add what's called SSRIs. And the serotonin uptake and all the different things that we're looking at, they even doctored these words up. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff that people are coming in. You can do the reading on it. This is getting to be ridiculous. Okay, a massive amount of people were killed, injured, put into hospitals, all sorts of stuff. Okay, so you need to take a look here because it's their vigils going on. Again, as I call, there's a lot of operations going on. I just was informed also that there was a whole bunch of stuff just literally the day before, 2 days before this happened in another town that's very close north to Prince George and kind of in Tumbler Ridge and Chetwynd and Dawson Creek. And I was up there like 4 years ago, guys. I was up there to help with relocating medical evac from what happened in some of the areas that were just the towns were like flattened. And we had fires and direct energy radiation burn victims. So I took them actually up into this area. So I know this area. I went through there, right? So again, people are not connecting the dots, but there are a few people that are connecting the dots. And I'm definitely one of them. Do you want to know the pattern? There was another one today. Today, there was another one. I think it was in Torrance or something, California, or Terrence, California. We have a Terrence up here. But anyway, this is getting insane. So start looking at the patterns. If it walks like a duck, it quacks like a duck, it's probably maybe a trans duck. I don't know. We've got to be able to take a look at this, right? And this is where we need to look at what's been happening, right? They literally called this a gun person. What the hell is a gun person? Gun we get. Person, well, that's a fake or an actor. We could discuss all the stupidity of what they think is happening to their property up here. So again, this is huge, okay? We cannot have this kind of stuff going in, but you need to be aware it's all over. Just look at the amount of stuff I showed you. Okay. Now, there was something that happened, and I just love her because one of the things is that there was actually a book many years ago when I was just started out at Young Living. I was like, oh, yay. And I would go to all the conferences and I would learn all this stuff. And one of the books was actually, it was called the Prozac. Okay. Panacea or Pandora. That's like when I went with things. Is this the cure or is it killing people? But one of the things in here I want to take a look at that you need to know about because I value this woman's information. It is like spot on. And she was a PhD. Dr. Ann Blake Tracy is who I'm talking about. She's on my Facebook and I just contacted her and thanked her again because first thing popped up into my head was what's going on again. So one of the books I had, and honest to gosh, she wrote this thing, and I'm not joking, it's like 2 inches thick, but it was amazing. So she got this book here, and Dr. Ann Blake Tracy is just absolutely amazing. So as I said, you can take a look at it. She was the executive director of basically to do with things like with drugging, okay, the children. And I want to tell you, this was one of the first things I was like, I really cut my teeth on that because I was trying to see what they were doing, how they were doing it. And she gave a lot of examples about Mormon missionaries, how they were totally fine, put on these drugs, and it doubled the cortisol in the first dose. I was like, what? And I started looking at all the pictures she had in there of the PET scans and what it was doing to the brain. And I was like, oh my gosh, these were like, I mean, you don't usually get too much more. Well, you could. The word of wisdom is a little bit lacking in most people, even in that faith, right? And the doctrines of the covenants. But in there, as a rule, they try to keep things as clean as they can. But here we're clean, basically 18, 19, 20-year-olds, all of a sudden, boom, that was it within like 1 or 2 doses. So these are one of the most important things. And she was just an amazing woman here, on that. And so I was like, here we go. I can see it happening. And one of the examples she talked about is that there she is right there. She's amazing. And she's on my Facebook. So if you want, take a look at that on here, what we're actually talking about, because she actually was showing people here. And this woman to me is about, what's been happening. We have been tracking this. I was like, oh my gosh, it happened when she was starting to talk about this, Lydia, I don't know if you know Bullying for Columbine, about what happened. This is not the first time this happened. The Timothy McVeigh's, all these sort of things, MK Ultra, mind control stuff, right? How are they doing it? Why are they doing it? And even here too, I love the forefront, because I remember Dr. Candace Pert, right, talked about basically the serotonin binding processes and what it's doing with these serotonic type of drugs. So you need to know what's going on here. Just like I said, it's so amazing. Take a look at what they've got here, because this, like I said, I cut my teeth on this, right? This is the awareness that you need to be going. Actually, I think I want to interview her. I've been thinking about it all day. I need to get a hold of her. Okay. So there she starts talking about what's been going on. Okay. These things are showing up and there is a pattern. And if you're missing the pattern, then you're missing what's actually going on. Because even when I looked at what she did, she started talking about this. You just scroll down here. I was like, oh God, I should get this woman. She wrote the book on this stuff, right? And then I scrolled down and there was a thing. She mentioned about the thing here in BC, what had happened. So anyway, that is something that you do want to take a look at, because like I said, this is the Coalition for Drug Awareness, right? And what they're doing. And so what she did, she was a big component of, we knew that the essential oils were working. And those essential oils can cross the blood-brain barrier, you guys. And this is what we started going into. This is where it gets really, 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 really fun. And I want you guys to remember that those oils are so important. And we're going to bring up some of that too. I think we have to remember how important this is and why we've come this far. And just wait. There's stuff waiting for us, especially around August 12th and some alignment dates and some solar eclipses that really could blow your mind. If some of the people in here, this is affecting everything, the pools, the Cascadia, the, different things, underground volcanoes are starting to go. We're keeping an eye on all of it. So I think this is really important if you take a look. And one of the things I mentioned, in here is not only can we find replacements, we can find something that's better than, it's not even cut. You can always play with it however you want to. So I think this is really important. How many people have been following this story? So are you guys aware? Just put a 1 in the chat room if you are aware of some of the things I've been talking about, because I know we're talking a little bit to the choir here, because this is so, so important. And Dream Dust is with us. Oh, let's all get dreamy and dusty. It's cool. You're here a bit late, but you thought you'd check out. You didn't know why, but this is why. Okay. I haven't even started getting warmed up with what I know. I'm just trying to keep this on the air so I can keep it clean enough. That's why I'm trying to hopefully show you pictures and connect some dots here. So anyway, okay, we got to know what we're dealing with here. This is just they're getting warmed up, and I mean, there's a lot of stuff coming down the pipes that you need to know. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. So like I said, go back, by the way, so Dream Dust, scroll back upstairs and you're going to see actually what I talked about. Okay. I've given 2 talks, Project Camelot, heavy duty, some health. And Dr. Drake and I were talking in the beginning, a little bit about oils, frequency, and blah, blah, blah. But then I went like ballistic on the last hour, right? I went through everything because you know what? I've had it with people doing this. I'm a mother. This is beyond tough love. As a clan mother, I want them all arrested and literally indicted and charged and put in the right courts, because this is actually acts of war. Screw the murder stuff, screw whatever. This is an act of war. And it's not genocide. If I hear one more individual Gens are like from the basically Roman army. That's like they'd be killing themselves, you guys. This is not a genocide. This is original peoples, original star nations, and this is a tribal side, a genocide, a clan mother side, and a nation side. So let's get into there, and I'll come back to your oils. Cosmic Vic is in here, and I'm going to show you where we're going to talk about this, because oils are my passion. And I will put actually something in, as I usually do. All this stuff is going to be here, packed up and gone. So we're not sure when it's coming out again, but I'm going to put this in the chat room. If you have a question about oils, there it is. There's a desk reference I'll give you in a minute. But we're going to go scoot over to my Facebook while it's still here. And Facebook has been lovely to me. Don't ask me why. They gave me 7,000 people basically in the last month. So, hey, I'm going to take it. It's not just from stuff I've been doing in word of mouth, because I've been getting mouthy. And you got to remember up here, the legislation in Canada is so tight. I have to go cut and paste and cut and paste and cut and paste. Do you know what it takes? It takes me 5 minutes to cut and paste and bring things over and get them arranged just so you can have the information, because it's locked down. Almost everything says violates Canadian legislation. So sorry. Or a lot of stuff on my Facebook, you guys are from other parts. I go to look at it, said, sorry, cannot be seen in Canada. So I hope it's great. I try to scan it as much as I can and, give you 2 questions to make sure, you're not some troll. But anyway, when you start going in here, it's very, very important, in here. So as we take a look at some of this stuff here, and I go into the Facebook here, other Facebook, I even was talking about this. People were like, what? I said, I have like 6, 7 different kinds of clean tobacco, for gosh sakes. Why would I go to pharmacy and go get Nicorette, go get nicotine, go get a nicotine patch? I don't go for nitro patches. Why the hell would I go for that? Okay, so here's just to show you something on my Heal 101, everything else on my albums, okay? If I can't, I said, did you know I've actually got 2, 3 brands of actually organic tobacco that goes with clove and peppermint and other things instead of like a drug thing? There actually are that. There's about 2, 3 different people making patches or balms, or look at how many tobacco. I've got a 30C homeopathic. I actually was growing like Hopi tobacco. I actually have organic tobacco here. There are a couple places that make it, but some are nicotine free. Some have a little trace of it. So that's up to you to do your homework. I did mine. So these are some of the things actually I was putting on with my Facebook, just for people to take a look at here. So one of the things in here under my Heal 101, you're going to find a lot of that stuff here. So I'm just going to scoot and go right to your question. Like I said, half these things I've talked to medical doctors and naturopaths and osteopaths and chiropractors, and they don't know what I'm talking about half the time. So that's fine. I'm a colon hydrotherapist. I'm a Kalima therapist. I'm an enema therapist. I've done more toxin than I care to imagine. Sitz bath, enemas, all sorts of things can be done. And look how far it penetrates. This is where you want to get, you want to have joie de vivre come back into your life. Make a steam. You want an aphrodisiac? You want your libido back? Hey, you want to feel 16? Hormones? Start teaching this stuff to the children. They won't want to be like transition because they're going to be so excited. They'll be maximizing their entire thing. You can take people through puberty and have a great time done with the right herbs. We should all get them chaste again. We'll give them all Vitex. It's called chaste tree or chaste. I think we should all have like chasteness and sacredness and holiness. And we should all be like enjoying each other and courting each other and teaching each other with peace and loving each other and be loved rather than what they're trying to do, this sacrosanct stuff. Anyway, these are the different things. How to do a parasite cleanse. Why would I have those things coming out of a tube and thing that you give to horses? Because they're not for humans. Not that I am a human. But anyway, there's your original thing. That little yoni pearl thing, that is the original way women have done parasite cleansings, sexually transmitted disease, whatever you want. There we go. There's biofilms. Welcome to what's over the chemtrails. Okay, half the time we're biofood busted. Half the time I'm getting this stuff out of women. How can you be close to someone when this stuff and these toxins are within you? And polyfibers, you think things are fun coming in a clutch? You should see them come out of women's vaginas now. You have no idea what I'm doing back here, right? There are books on this. There are 4 schools of perihydrosteam. I've gone to 2 of them, Steamy Chick and Red Tent Wellness. There's another couple ones in here, right? We're missing all this stuff. So I think this is like really, really important. because a lot of people are being stressed out. They're having anxiety. They are using this, and this crosses the blood-brain barrier. Now I'm going to get into the different categories of oils here in a minute. So textbooks are important. Your knowledge is important. Don't rely on what I'm saying. Besides, I've been trained in it. But aside from that, and I've got 42 years of clinical, and most of it as a naturopath going into the fields you're using this, right? That's what we're trained in biofeedback. You're trained in each and one. We may not be an expert in everyone, but we have that surface training. We actually have universities of complementary alternative medicine for international medicine to do with biofeedback. They use the biofeedbacks for scanners because they are tricorders. They're quantum computers. We've had them in our hands for like 30 years. What's the big deal? Anyway, there are books here. Dr. Gary Young, love him, taught me how to do fire walking. But more importantly, he was one of the biggest inspirations because oils are sacred. They're the closest thing that brings you to the creator, that brings you inside out and the biofield at the same time. You cannot get better than that. Like, I mean, it's just amazing, you know? And then when you get into this, these are the desk references. I just gave you the 500 and some pages of this desk reference as a PDF in there. So you guys can knock yourself out. It's herbs, oils, detoxing, cleansing, every disease A to Z just about. Okay? Everything's in there. pH, alkalinity, heavy metals, weird stuff. Go look it up. Because there's emotions connected with this, right? And that's what we do. We actually are measuring. You can see here what it says. It says we can go, oh, look at, I can do essential oils. I can do vitamins. I can do sacred geometry. I could look at your biofield, right? More importantly, you could do it yourself. You don't need me. You know, I've got stuff right now. I can actually send you, if you send me your email with some interest, seriously, you've got a little bit of interest in this or a little bit of curiosity, give me your email. I can send you a link called a Quanta cap. You can play that. And then you will be able to listen to 15 tones, all your organs, all your chakras, and all the solfeggio tones for the rest of your life. And then if you want a playlist or stuff like that, we can do that as well. You want to get into this, be responsible. Okay? Because this stuff is what they are misdiagnosing. They are celebrating, even the doctors that are still doing the drugs, even though they didn't give certain things in the last 6 years, they are promoting this stuff. And they are still of that mindset. Why were we not celebrating, like that father said, the woman that did 45 minutes? Why aren't, finally, after 3 days, now we're getting the other children, bless them, and the two that need it there, you know, in the hospital, right? On intensive care ventilators and stuff. I am a former neonatal nurse. I've been in pediatric intensive care. I know this. I know what those parents are going through. I had a child in neonatal. I know the empathy part of it. But there is other ways to deal with this. I wish I could get in there. I really do. But again, you have to look. It's not just about the condition. What did those children also be subjected to and take all of them in the last few years? Did that 5G go off? Did they do a 6G? What did they do? All these things. I want you to see how important this is, what they're doing. Every disease that's on there is connected to an external toxin, a poison, right? A virus, right? All those things are in here. So take a look at that. So lots of things we can look at. You know, I did, and I'm going to show you this. I did my live blood cell. And I went to True Health Canada. I spent the week through the whole Okanagan, from West Kelowna to Vernon to Lavington, Lumbee, and I had a great time. And I enjoyed everything. I tested every French restaurant there was. And the people in there, we had coconut bread. I could get access to some of this stuff again and not have to do it myself. It was great. You know, I tested every macaron there is, right? But, you know, I went to the farmer's market. I talked with the fermenters. I talked with the raw foodists. I got more information. You know, I was actually offered something that I had to turn down because I'm not going to work in an environment where all the naturopaths took the injections. I think I'm going, oh God, I can't get over this. And they wonder why everyone's in, you know, it's not a cancer center. It's not a reset retreat thing. It's again, know what the causes are. Look for those causes. You'll be much brighter. Okay. So what I did is I actually did this. So I was under the microscope. Lorraine Andrews at True Health Canada was there. You know, protected people, right? Again, it's not for the public. You scan who's in here, you know who your friends are, right? Friends look after friends, right? This is a friendly territory thing. So again, as you can see, we've been seeing this weird stuff. Oh, this picture, by the way, it's probably about 20 years old when we're going to university and stuff, right? Still part of that. My professor, MD, Dr. Paul Duran, everything in here. So all these things are so important that you need to look at. So we're going to go into oils here in a second because they're categories of oils. So you can skip to this. There's things with chlorine dioxide. Oh, by the way, I used to have doctors making prescriptions. Don't think I can't get what I want here. I actually had this done in several hospitals. Doctors making orders for essential oils. I think I'm the first here to get it done. Have to know the alkalinity. This is what's killing everyone right now. You have got to get that bicarbonate water. For those people that don't know what it is, it's called a teaspoon of baking soda in water, lemon water, or something like that. Maple syrup water. Get your stuff together. We've been saying this forever and ever. People need to figure it out. Figure out who you are. Get your blood type kits. This starts here. This is what the purpose is. They are right now going to remove every one of their lines, and they're pretty busy at it. By the way, one of you guys, you all come off one of those lines. Those are your tribal lines, guys. Way more than 13. Okay? This is what the end game is. By the way, that's at Project Ascension. You can look up DNA and genetics. Not reversing that again, starting backwards. Again, start with the basics. Don't let them come at you. Okay? Get a smart meter shield. Use it. Okay? All these things. Okay? That took me less than 15, 20 minutes. I was under the microscope. Well, she got to look at it first. But these are up there, and I went, do you know what? I don't have, and I took my blood back, by the way. I don't have graphene. I don't have a ribbon. I don't have a computer. I don't have anything that's foreign assembling in me. So I'm really sick of people saying, everyone's got it. No, we don't. Because we know what we're doing, and hopefully the ore is going to be hot pink and hot purple, and it's going to burn up on reentry. Okay? Don't fall for that crap. Everyone did it. Everyone jumped off the bridge. Everyone's on this stuff. No, that's not true. It really isn't. That's just sanctimonious. There's some more tobacco, by the way. This is how I actually make a radionic. Again, I make these more finer than a homeopathic would be. That's me taking my little Hopi tobacco plant and condensing it down into a tincture and then getting the signature of it, surprise, surprise, and then giving it to my client. So I'm giving a basically sound bath frequency to it. I'm giving it the binaural beat. I'm giving it the creator's little subtle whisper, subtly. I'm speaking to you. So that is actually how it's done. By the way, it turned purple after I was done. So those are the kind of things you need to, kind of look at. There's a lot of stuff, a wealth of information. You can knock yourselves out. Like I said, I've given 101 lectures for like 40 some years on this. There you go. So those are the certain things that you've got to take a look at and get back in touch with what you know. I've got a whole bunch of stuff here. Okay. I look at clients like this. This is just a hint. I look at your eyes. I look at your tongue. I look at your memory. I look at all sorts of things. Okay. Anyone I touch has got to be clean at my level once it's been scanned. And I'm even gloved up. I never touch anyone anymore because there's too much stuff going through here. Tuning forks. Go into the biofield if you can't feel it. All sorts of things. People are feeling things because they're only at a certain level. Right? So those are some different options for you. Again, I'm going to have so many different things to offer you guys to try out all of these for a week. And then some of them I can actually give a custom playlist with the Quanta Cap app. So if you want to do that and get excited, go right ahead because we're going to talk about this in millivolts. Okay? I'm really a plumber and electrician. I've come to that after 42 years here. So basically the brain to work has got to be at 100 megahertz, right? We're getting basically 1 million cycles per second. Hey, that's how fast you should be vibrating. And if I'm speaking too fast, slow this down, put it at 3/4 speed, or pause it. All your fresh vegetables and fruits and essential oils are basically around 90, okay? The body to work has got to be at 80. You take coffee at 58, boom, you're down. You take those things with the big C word, boom, down to 42. Take your canned food and GMO, guess what? Boom, 0 to 7. Okay? So just by doing some fun things and getting positive and singing and dancing, and I'd suggest humming and do some breath work, knock yourselves out, because you'll raise it up about 10, 15 megahertz. Not good to go 1,000, but you'll do it there. And remember those little cell phones and stuff like that? I got enough stickers on mine. It's hiding here somewhere. Anyway, I have stickers. Get EMF, get everything else. Shungite around the thing, copper around the thing. Don't have a lot of this stuff on you. Because right now, that cell phone can pulse basically at 2 gigahertz, right? 2,000 megahertz. Okay? Do what we just said. 2,000 times a million. Oh, how many million is that? Oh, 20,000 million times, right? Okay? Know what you're coming up into here, okay? So we want to get into these binaural beats and stuff like that. Just here on the side, hopefully you guys can see it here. These are some of the frequency codes, right? I play with different waves. I like to wave at people. Okay, triangles, squares. This is not Illuminati, it's a triangle. It's not the all mocking tongue. Anyway, the square, the sawtooth, the sine waves, everything. Gauge, 7.83. What happened to the Schulman wave? Oh, it's over 100. Can you get in from 7.83 to 100? Are you able to vibe that high? Guess what? Only certain people will be able to soon. Okay, the Earth's at 7.83, but guess what the sun is? Oops, 126.22, guys. Does that tell you what's going on? Why are we getting solar flares? Got what they're doing up there. They're shooting you love bullets. You better be able to match that. Then you get into TCM, right? Where are we at? Again, the binaural beats at 40 hertz, right? That's why people are getting their memories back with this. Okay, do I have to go through the spine? Your C1's at 128, but your lower butt's like 200 and some, right? Look at the sweeps I'm doing. Now, this is where you're going to get into your essential oils. As I said, GMO stuff, very low, under 10. All the nicest herbs in the world and all their little capsules and supplements, if they were totally clean, which they're not anymore, right? Boom. What's going to happen? They're only at about 20 to 30 megahertz. But if we don't start using those oils, combine things, Valor's at 46, peppermint's at 78 megahertz, Sarah for sexual abuse and ritual abuse to go into the reproductive organs, okay, and your private parts, whatever you want to call it, 102. Okay, frankincense 147 and spruce is 560. Ooh, that means we got a lot of stuff to keep up with here, right? My favorite thing here, I actually just showed this to a chiropractor. Shout out, by the way, we knew it. I'm going to get her on too. Dr. Kelly Confer. She's my favorite chiropractor, her and Dr. Dina Churchill. And if you girls, we got an Aberdeen there. You got to do that as well. Anyway, different ways to look at the system. We're not looking at you, we're looking through you. Okay, lots of different systems, lots of very cool things can work there. So I hope that's going to go in there. We're going to go just a smidge down the oils because I really want to do that because I just love oils. There's not enough oils on this planet. Remember, you can make, I have celery oil. Did you know that? I have coffee essential oil. I have chocolate cacao essential oil. That's quite the aphrodisiac when you mix it with a little orange and vanilla. Or you could make the guys think that you have like cinnamon pie or like, man, they're just high listening. You know, it's the frequency, right? Don't use chemical stuff, right? Okay. Men love that. Women love it, but men really, it's a real aphrodisiac in itself. I think that's really, really important. So one of the things I made under here, and we're going to go into your oil question here. So hopefully you're going to get some really cool stuff out of that, right? So Dream Dust said, I bought Zoogle food grade essential oil. I rather like them. What a blessing that you came up. Oh, I'm glad, Anne. You think so cool. Oh, and Brett's in here too. Evening to you. Nicole's in here. Can we do biofeedback on someone who's been injected, or is it, oh, yeah, injected. Got to watch my words. Or is there a detox to have him do? I'll go through that here while I'm doing that. And he likes whistling to himself too. So let's take a look at this, right? Okay. So I'll deal with the biofeedback while we're in here. Okay. There's the short answer is, how do you do your biofeedback? Okay. There's the thing about doing remote. There is a thing about doing it with just headphones, sound waves. I would not. And it is, if you guys actually took your courses and were certified with all those nice big biofeedback and all those things I had to study like 30 years ago, okay, to be able to do biofeedback, to be an instructor, to be an educator in it, okay? So the thing is that you are supposed to be asking those hard questions, whether you like it or not. If you can't ask the question, then you're in the wrong place. Okay. You should be able to ask your friends, your family, if you've got clients, whatever it is, you better be doing an intake. And I mean minimally verbally. Okay. So one of the things here, and there's a whole bunch of things coming up. April 1st is going to be worse than April's Fool's Day. All the naturopaths are going to get caught. Bill C 8 and 9 is going through, and then they're working on 224. You even say the wrong word, they can shut you down. You could have cinnamon in your cupboard and they could shut you down right now. Okay. Hope you like your chai tea maybe without it, but they're going to go for it. They're going to try it again. It's not been through, but we'll see what happens here. Okay. There's a lot of things going down right now. Okay. So the thing is that no pregnancy, no menstruating, no pacemakers. And what do you actually inject into someone? They are cyberlotic. They are computerized. Okay. They're microscopic. It's worse than nano. It's even worse than nano. Okay. So if that's happened, or they took something up their nose, remember, this is how I got that. Why did I pass out? Why did I break my arm and my wrist? Right? Because someone lied to me, and they may be lying to you. Do you want to know how many people that have been intercoursing with people that they shouldn't have been, that partner lied to them? That happens a lot. You would not believe how many people have intercoursed with people. They went through their checklist, and guess what? They lied. Surprise, surprise. Well, this isn't an STD you can do something for. You're not going to get rid of this. I don't care what they say at a fine level with a lot of the stuff that we have not. Now, bandage stuff, detoxing is one thing. Heavy metals is one thing. This is another thing. But guess what? It can lie dormant. There's always a residual trace. Always a residual trace. If you sleep with a guy, you always have a sperm. You might get rid of some of the stuff he's carrying, but you're always going to have that. And that could be reactivated. And that's what people are not talking about. It's the Teslaphoresis, where they can go in and start it all over again. And that's what people are missing. So yeah, you might knock down a few ingredients, but like a souffle, you take that, you're going to have that souffle drop. So on that as well, I don't allow anyone in here unless I have checked them off and had the conversation. And you need to have the conversation. Okay. There are things that you can do. You can make all sorts of remedies for those people. And yes, you can give them remedies, but for gosh sakes, I would not have them in your place. Okay. How many people can you keep up? You can't keep up. I've looked after too many people. I got this, I got that. I've got skin. I got headaches. I got whatever. And they want us to give something like a magic bullet. Well, that's not going to happen. It doesn't matter if it's herbs or even people in the pharma industry, because you're not dealing with the thing. When they go back in, they're re-inoculating themselves. They're re-getting spiked. They're re-getting whatever. If you don't take them out of the environment, you're not going to make a change. Okay? So you have to stop what's causing it. And if you don't want to you're in denial, or you're going to go down with the ship, that's their problem. So those are some of the things in here. You have to know what's going on with them, right? So there are a lot of things, like I said, I can do things, I can give remedies, and I can certainly do stuff. I do lots of people that have been, in those things that we're doing. You can't really recover someone. It's more like you're palliating the symptoms. So yes, I do people that have been graphinated and spiked and all that stuff and injected and whatever else, and their partners, where I've been doing that all along, but from a distance. Okay. That's what Zoom's for. That's what Telegram's for. That's what a phone is for. People with this new thing with the Quanta cap, I'll go over that a bit. They can send you from their home, their office. Yeah. They send you a little thing. You basically give them the Quanta cap, and they put their picture and their voice. It comes back to you. You do a mini session, and boom, they can listen to it for a week. Okay. That's safe. And then they can, put the headphones on their end. They can put the headphones around the water or whatever. That's definitely an option. So we're going to go in and we're going to take a look at our little thing here. And what we're going to look at is essential oils. Okay. Essential oils. Again, you have to, are they got litmus paper? Are they acidic or alkaline? I'm telling you, you can't start fixing anything until you get them alkaline. Okay. So I have a whole thing back under my Facebook. And if not, you can go to my other videos I've talked on here about. Okay. So in here, and we'll give you some links to look at here in a minute. But under the photos, under the albums, I have one that says essential frequency oils. Oh, guess what? Edible, organic, and it should actually be therapeutic. I'll explain that. So class number 1, and you can look, I just love, Bruce Tahino was amazing from Tahino Technology, right? It was one of the first ones to start frequency monitoring, like the body and basically what the oils were doing. So you can read a little bit about there and how, what the frequency is, and do they have frequencies? Okay, so there are some cleaner ones that are therapeutic level. Therapeutic is grade 1, organic is grade 2, and the rest don't touch. So even if it says 100% pure or 100% natural, natural could be a blood product, by the way. It can be cut. Legality wise, you can have less than 10% of a natural substance. Like, it's like, I'm going to tell you, in their world, basically, a vodka paralyzer is organic because they used organic orange. But the rest of it is all something in there, or a vodka paralyzer, right? They get away with that. That's how they're doing it. They don't even care now. Look what they're putting in. You don't even have to label. They told you we're not even going to label it now. So now they're going to force you to start getting your own heirloom seeds. So heirloom seeds is the same as therapeutic. Okay. Hopefully that's what you're at. Organic was a class 2 to me. Okay. Which may have some stuff, but you definitely, because of the labeling, you need to go. So if you go to that supplier, then you better phone that supplier and you better talk to them and you better see if they have a spec sheet. In other words, you're going to see what the graphs are like. Is it batched? Is it ISO standards? I ask those questions. I know who my suppliers are. Basically, essential oils are not aromatherapy. They are liquid food. They're condensed, powerful. So you only need a couple drops here. How to do raindrop technique. How to do it internally. Okay. Learn how to do this. I improved it. I really know I improved it because basically I see better results now than I did 30 years ago when I first learned. So now I do the biofeedback. I give them a cyber, an energetic, and I also give them a sound bath of the raindrops. So I actually have the raindrop where I can use all my oils on my clients, just like you're doing a massage with them. It's very cool. Books, animals, houses, plants. You can actually spray all the essential oils on your plants. They change things to use, what kind of, rather than nebulizers, get a pure oil diffuser, right? Again, looking at who's got, so some of the different suppliers are actually in here. So even though they might say that, I've gone back and I've asked or I've phoned. Okay. There's also things called hydrosols. There's also etars, or also known as atars. Okay. Whole different thing. Amber and some of the tars are just off this planet. I have oils in here that are like 4,000 years old that have been given to me, that have been preserved. I got oils or special blends from people that are only given to certain people as well. These are just incredible. But live blood cell here, I want you to see how it's oxygenating people. So this is really another thing that pisses me off when people are trying to sell patches and zeolites and all sorts of weird things. They all want to show you that, oh, this is great. But I'm showing you that this is, how old is this? 10 years? And it's probably 15 or 20 when I was doing it. No more than 20. So in 1999, 2000, 26 years ago, I was using these videos. Okay, so everyone's heard, oh, it clumps, right? Get a sticker, get this, get a patch, get my supplement, right? Right? And they show you a before and after. Well, guess what? That's just with some essential oil. So it's not rocket science, but it does work because what it's doing is it's affecting the blood. You take sugar, you take coffee, you take anything, it looks and just about kills the blood in 10 minutes. Coffee, candy bars, Coke, pop, all the same thing. Once we start bringing the essential oils, even if it's just in your feet, but it's on the skin, not smelling it, on the skin somehow or internally, this will do it. Phenomenal stuff. It's not rocket science. Well, it is, maybe. And this is also how they work on the actual bloodstream, right? Robert Tisselin, all those, the institutes, all those. Again, there's me showing, and yes, I've taken it internally, by the way. I had friends that were actually injecting frankincense into tumors. We were doing also some very cool things over the years. My oils go into the enema bag you see back there. There's herb tea, and there's probably some lavender, digees, or clove, or some ginger in there too. Lavender enemas. I do all sorts of things. Chocolate enemas, you name it, I've probably done it. Maybe not. Again, there are some that show you how to do it. Couple drops, fill the rest up with castor oil or take it with food. Make your own. Right? This is not rocket science. This is the frequency part, right? These can all be researched up as to what they're doing. And again, that's why we were blending things, because we were blending things to get them into a certain hertz. That's why I'm saying you get it into the biofield, right? I am so sick of people. The processed food, zip, 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 right? All these meat things, processed, cloned, low energy, low energy. So you're going to need to start using those oils. And I would have a really nice kit or collection to go look at your favorite place to get them. You know, like I said, reach out and touch someone, give something that's going to make a difference, right? Because once you start dropping, as it says here, death begins at 25, right? You go lower and lower. I just want to bring it to your attention. Coffee lowers you down to 58. Better be using oils if you're still doing that stuff. If you're not making mud water coffee or, doctoring and nursing it up, for sure. Okay. So a lot of these things are in here. Okay. This is the biofield. It's all measurable. So whether I look at it from a color for Kirlian photography, or I dissect every level. Remember, some people can see things, but they can usually only see in 1 or 2 dimensions. They don't see them all. Even when I'm looking at energies and auras off people just visually, or doing matrix, or like you think Reiki and stuff like that, we all have different limitations. We all have different gifts, but we all have different limitations. This is me spiking my tea. Okay. You want to get rid of some stuff, brain fog and headaches, rather than just water, put it in some tea. You'll love me, right? Your brain's going to be sharp, fast. Okay. So these are the things on how we vibrate. Again, know the quality of your oil. Okay. Because this is what's happening to all those people. They are loose harvesting and they're draining your energy. They want what you have. You are the life source to most of these things here. So like I said, I'm not going into a whole lot of this stuff. You can look it up here. These videos have been here for a long time. I put it in all my food. There isn't a guac I don't make that's got lemon essential oil. I spike my food. I spike my water from all this stuff because it's amazing. And by the way, you've got to be able to look after yourself before you can look after someone else. Absolutely. Because that's what everyone's doing. And there's a great book called Vibrational Raindrop. And that's the art of using forks, getting forked up, oiled up, high energy Spice Girls, my favorite thing, orthoes. Okay, peace and calming. There is me using the tobacco plant, even though it was on its last legs there. Plant comes in, makes it into a tincture, put the tincture on, listen to it, boom. Remember that orange picture? That's my client after I infused him. It was great. Okay, again, how are we looking at people? We need to have certain screens. That's why using sound is not bad. Ultrasound is not bad. I can just do it as a sound generator. I'm just making the sound in the light codes, right? Just like ultrasound. Don't forget the fur babies. I've done all those animals, even done a bison, did buffalo, okay, did camels, did all sorts of stuff, okay? There's an entire thing of animals in there. And this is what you're going to need to know is what's coming up with 567G is the radiation and the gamma and the beta and the UV, not just people that took chemo and this, okay? EMF, 5G. You got to know the oils. Get them in to protect you. These are always fun to do when I do it that way. Okay? Again, we can test the supplements. We can tell if it's working or not. Maybe it's only working, and maybe there's a much better thing. So don't just listen to the people in there. Like I said, take a look at what you've got. Read the instructions. The reason they're up there. Okay? And again, start using that. So again, the other thing that's important here, the more alkaline you are, the more you absorb. When you're acidic, bad thing to evaporate into the air. Okay. Waste of money, waste of time. Okay. So those are some of the things when I see people in here. Okay. This is from one of our shows I've done. Like I've gone through a lot of this in the background in here. So as you can see, this is what I've been showing here. Those are all the things I'm looking at people when I'm doing Ayurvedic traditional Chinese medicine on Zoom, on FaceTime, and on Telegram. Okay. Wealth of information. So these are some just different things, right? And that's how we get the frequency. Make the essential oil. I make the essential oil. I bring one in. I capture the sound, the subtle frequency, vibration. It talks. You just got to have the right equipment to listen to it. Okay. Also, any woman know what this is? Those are vaginal gels. Those are herbal vaginal gels, just like the yoni pearls I was showing you guys. So again, that's what we want to do. We want to get the vocal biomarkers, and from there, boom, we can like test anything basically in the world. It's just absolutely amazing what we can do with the voice, right? Because we're going to create and again mirror those distortions, right? Okay. Remember this stuff, you can't even see some of it now, right? Boom. Okay. Other things as well. Yoni streams, vaginal streams, all that is so important, especially for women. Get your stuff together. Like I said, this is in there. They know that it works. Do you want me to show you how many studies? I could even show you the scriptures. There's over 200 references, to the alabaster, to the spikenard, to on the feet, to putting it on all the children. What did they use for the plagues? Blah, blah, blah. It's all in here. Some of my favorite things here. Okay. Again, you want to vibrate up. That's what I want to see. I want to see when I do a biofield or a scan, I want to see it all hot pink, actually. There's stuff way beyond Hawkins things. We go way beyond 700 or 1,000. Okay. These are different things. You want to know what the spec is. I want to know who the supplier is in there. Like I said, you can't do the same thing necessarily at home unless you've got it there. So just remember all these oils and everything else. Okay. I have it in there. Oh, by the way, if you didn't know, there are hospitals all over the world. We have nurses using this. Okay. Nurses and doctors are using it in certain very high-end, usually elite stuff. Johns Hopkins University was on there. I know the staff working there doing it. Okay. So again, get some of these valuable things. You always see the spruce and the woods and the tansies and the frankincense and all that stuff. Very, very important. Okay. Because you're coming out with this stuff. So you better be up into this area to be able to receive it and take it and use what you can and transmute it. Remember, these are the things that you can replace. Okay. Know what your replacements are. Okay. Look them up. Have fun. Find a friend. Find a better friend. If you don't want to do your family. Okay. Learn about this. This is what they're there for. Every one of those oils, I told you, go into part of the biofield. This is very, very important, on there. So there is something. Hopefully that answered a couple of those questions, right? Anyway, I think that's really cool. So we're all great for this evening. So I'm going to go out and look at land. Okay. So you got to remember, and there's a picture of me, by the way, back in my early 20s. Okay. Cute little stripes. Oh yeah, she made it. She was a registered nurse, blah, blah, blah. She's in charge of 1,200 nurses under the union. Okay. I could get into what red roses do and like 2 stripes on your head now, right? So there's a whole thing in there. Again, rituals, training, schooling, indoctrination, right? You got to think outside the box, you really do. And like I said, we're going to develop a whole new thing. I love retraining nurses right now. I love retraining, medical doctors, and seeing like people like Dr. Debbie Drake, how she's come away from that. She says, actually, don't call me doctor. Don't insult me right now. I'm a recovering MD. Okay, so on that, same thing. So you've got to learn this type of thing. So hopefully we've got some of that. Topaz is in. You're late. You're going to have to watch from the beginning. Was this great? Did everyone learn something? Tell me if you learned something. Just put a yes in there or, put a happy thing or something. What did you learn this evening? Okay. We're triaging. We're using all sorts of cool things in here. We've got lights and sounds and bells and whistles going off for people here. I think this is just amazing, in here. I have really enjoyed learning some of this technology, right? But more importantly is learning how to look after yourself, right? It's important. We're coming to some different times right now. Okay. And there's so much in there, but you know what? I really liked it when we were doing the Kerry Cassidy thing, right? And one of the things at the end of the show that Kerry started talking about that was really profound, that I really enjoyed what she was saying, right? And you take the best of from whatever you say. I'm really tired of people going, oh, you're hanging out, these people are this, these people are that. Well, these people have been actually very kind to me, and they allow me a platform. And it wasn't until she said, I just talked about my experience. I said, next thing you know, someone gave me a patch. And next thing you know, I was like having a heart attack, right? We know what it was. It was on the pericardium. And I said, and I had 3 people that week, and I didn't give them to them. They tried them out. But that was the thing. I just happened to be doing house calls. If I hadn't been there for house calls, most people don't think about it. They don't even know that they've put it on because it's like a bandage. Most people can leave it on for days and not know it. But that is some of the stuff that you can take a look at. And I was really, really grateful and impressed And she told me she had the same issue happen, right? It's not for everyone. And like I said, different frequencies, different blood types. Why would I go into something here, for example? This is what I said. I can measure my minerals. If I'm already high in copper, or even you could have an excess of copper, and then you're going to put copper patches on someone. Or what it does is when you learn about the copper, and Dr. Drake and I talked a little bit about that. And I talked about, you saw it on my inner group today, I talked about copper and cobalt and aluminum and what they do, right? They got a frequency, they got a wave, they got a sound. And what happens if it cuts you off? Like lead's going to stop some of the 6G, right? Or does it stop? No, because it's really inside and you're getting hit from the satellite. So the towers don't matter anymore. That's what Sabrina Wallace is talking about with the wide body area network, the medical body area network. All these things, they're hijacking this and hijacking that. And they think they own you like, Goyim cattle. They think they own you like property. Well, they can be here for you or against you. If you have a stand in peace or a peace treaty, or actually want to get into an idea, sovereignty is a law. It's a law class. Just like in the army, it's a law class. You can't just say you're a sovereign. No, most people want to be, I want to be in the private. I want to be in the, I don't want to be in the public. I want to be in the private, right? And I went, you've missed the whole entire thing. There's 4 classes of people, and then all the there's quasi sovereigns too, and quasi privates, by the way. But in here, she said a very important point. She said, I had that happen. I remember when some of the different things, and one of the things I want to talk about too, I just love Zach. Zach's so cool. Zach is from what's called Power the Pulse. Okay. Zach and I have been on the same panels, hanging out with Tony Pantalorasco years, guys. Okay. So Zach has actually gone out and started talking about different forms of what nano is. Okay. And he's got something called Power the Pulse. And he's also been on a couple shows recently. He's also got a Telegram group, which I'm part of. And I was just talking to him this week, actually. I've known him for ages. Now, one of the things in here is that you better learn some of this different things. So am I talking about, I got to backtrack here. I will go back and watch all of this. Are you talking about the tobacco patches? No, I'm talking about other things. But even tobacco patches, yes, I am talking about that too. Go look up herb patches. I have it on all the stuff I've talked about that you can do. Herb, essential oils, homeopathics, and stuff like that. But I'm talking about things like copper patches, what some people call Life Wave, some people call Vox, Defend. There's all sorts of stuff coming out right now. Okay. They're not for everyone in there, right? And no, they shouldn't be worn. They shouldn't be even worn, period. What the hell are people doing with pharmaceuticals? Do you know who owns that company that he's promoting? Go down that rabbit hole for a bit. Okay. They're pushing more pharma, right? They are. These are pharmaceuticals. That's what, have you ever worked with cardiac patients? I have, that have been on nitro patches. Okay. Drug patches. They're drugs. They have metamaterials. You can learn that from Sabrina Wallace. She talks a lot about, and Tony Pantalorasco, lipid nanoparticles, all those things. Okay. I'm saying we can make them naturally, and they actually do exist out there. Even on Amazon.com has got some. It might be on some.ca, but there are things, make your own, investigate, right? Why would I do that? You're feeding back into the system that they're doing. The M blues, all these, again, those kind of patches. There's natural and then there's unnatural. And so we don't need to be going with the unnatural stuff because it's just, it's hurting people. And this is what we got into in the show that I talked about today. And I'm just going to give you a sample. Okay. Because I'm still reeling from some of this stuff. You can tell I'm just like, as a mother, when this happens to one child, you hurt all of our children. Okay. This is the kind of stuff they said, don't worry about these little boys that want to become girls. Guess what? You are self-mutilating the body. What the hell is wrong with you? We know what the agenda is. Quit going into there. Okay. The sertraline is actually called Zoloft. Right next up to them there's Prozac. There's a whole slew. It doesn't matter. It's all shit anyway. Okay. These are selective serotonin uptake inhibitors, otherwise known as a class called in there. And what are they doing with it? Do you know, I think it's something like 30%, 1 in 3 are on this crap, let alone the children, let alone, What did we not learn? These are all the different things, because they're putting people that have anxiety and this and obsessive. Oh, guess what? They're doing it for like PMS. Okay. This is what they're putting people on here. Okay. Unbelievable crap. And then I'm just going to talk about the little side effects. What do you think that is? I want you to quit thinking in terms of their terms and start taking it to Eastern medicine. What is your large intestine meridian? It's going to knock out all the meridian head to toe. You could have a sore foot from this. You could have an eyelash. You could have a fungus. Why? Because they've knocked out the GI system, gastrointestinal. The nervous system. Oh, there goes all your biofield. Why? Because they're taking and harvesting up the central nervous system. That's your brain, peripheral nervous systems, right? What is dizziness? You got brain damage. Okay. Oops. Sexual dysfunction. Oops. There goes the libido. Oh, yeah, we did find everything's making you impotent and infertile. Oops. What did we need? Premature or delayed ejaculation, or it just doesn't move. Weight changes up and down, right? Well, don't do anything without talking to them, right? Define who your health therapists are. Are you going to an allopathic that studies in this, or are you going to go to someone that looks at something naturally? Okay. So then there's all the contraindications. Ooh, did you see where they haven't updated this in 6 years, saying, I wonder what it does with that stick that went in my nose. It was totally contaminated with GO, which is graphene oxide. Oh God, did we actually forget what it did with all the people that took the injections with all the shit in there and the heavy metals? No. Do you see anything of this? Or how they're putting in there? You don't know what that witch's brew and warlock's blue and crap brews that they're doing here. Oops, could be on other medications. Did you actually know it could be doing stuff with cannabis or, psychedelics or my mushrooms? I've seen people actually end up in emergency from this stuff. Okay. And that's just one of them. Simply just one of them. So again, this becomes an issue. By the way, I happen to find something that, and I don't know if it's true, but I'm just going by what was on the air. Blah, 280 milligrams. And people come quite often to me and they'll say, don't worry about it, because I'm only taking a little pill. I'm only taking a little one. It's 1 milligram. It's 25. It's the lowest dose. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Do you know you can actually put this into someone and with Prozac and stuff like that, and your cortisol can double and you can have brain damage in the first damn dose. And you know what? That's why they need to keep going to and keep reloading it. So let's just say, what was that little possibly child on? Young man, right? 280 milligrams. Let's talk about that. And don't think it's a pill, because it can be in a capsule. Now they're injecting this into people to make sure you're compliant. And then there's also liquid versions. Okay. So let's call it out for what it is. Okay. This is what it is. Now I'm going to get into another one. That wasn't bad enough. Oops. Don't stop taking it without their advice either. Right. Okay. Oh, people with a history of that. Oh, there it was. That man turned the gun on himself after he did the rest of the people at home and, mothers, stepbrothers, colleagues, other students that he knew before he left school. Okay, in here. Now let's get into the fun stuff. Agitation, hallucinations, shivering, heart rate, muscle stiffness, twitching, lots of coordination. Oh, that's not enough. It gets better than that, let me tell you. This is the problem. You should have a book on essential oils. You should have a book on herbal, and you should have this stuff. And for gosh sakes, everyone can do this. Okay. Oops. There's a history. There was a mental history. The RCMP all said that. They should all be like, seriously, I want them all charged. I am so livid with this. This should not have to happen. And you know what? All the ones, even another one today, there was one, but it was in California. So if you don't catch the things, what's going on, I like the best one. It keeps going here. Okay, even the dosage. Okay, what the hell was 280? Okay, did that doctor figure things in? That's 4 different things. I talked about James Rink, 7 different contrary medications over the counter that the psychics all gave to him. And then we added little terahertz ones on top of it. Just drive it right in. No wonder people are dropping like flies. I mean, there you go. To avoid, I like this. This is where it gets better. Bleeding, seizuring, visual changes. eye pain, redness, headache, confusion. It gets better. Racing, extreme, up and down. Okay, in here. Like I said, it's all in here. Just need to do it. How do you know that someone didn't have a headache, so they self-dosed themselves, right? Oops, did you know what? It doesn't mix with these either. That's what they even admit. But they sure didn't talk about anything that happened that these children were on in the last 6 years, let alone a mother that can't read a label. Okay? You are responsible. As a parent, you're responsible. You're supposed to know this stuff. The children, that's what we were here for. That's what we were here for, is to guide people. So that is what I am so upset about. And there isn't such a thing as long, whatever, we'll just call it the Ovid. Okay? There is no such thing as that. It's radiation illness. It's from people that got whatever up their nose and in themselves, and then they're just, shutting forever and ever and transmitting and cyber loading everyone with this crap, right? Okay? It was radiation. So let's go back. You're acidic and in here, right? It's the same thing. You get the oils going, you get your pH back. How do you get rid of toxins? You can do parasite cleanses and colon cleanses, and you start doing enemas and colonics and stuff. You get rid of your old shit. That's why. If it comes on, boom, deal with it. So can we get rid of that? Again, it's not just one thing. It's so isolated. There are so many things in there. It's like a witch's brew. Just because I get down on one or two of them, right? Again, I've talked about get your stuff, get your herbs, get your oils, get your alkalinity into place. You can wear different things like triple braided copper bracelets, triple braided necklaces, anklets. You can be discreet. I've got actually air tamers that blow all the time that are actually magnetized, electrified. I don't go anywhere. And I don't touch anyone in there. Like I said, this is a rare instance where someone got that close, right? Okay. So all these things are out there available. You have to try it. Okay. But in here, that's a replacement. Okay. This thing does not exist. They are biotech, biowarfares that were made. They were biologics, cyber hooked, right? Even the big thing, I've been dealing with a lot of people with like ticks and Lyme, right? Again, there's a procedure. A lot of people coming down with skin stuff and Morgellon, right? It's going to get more and more and more intense. Like you have no idea. They're building up to this first crescendo, which I'm pretty sure, La Quanta Columba out of Spain. I listened to him 2 hours. I don't care if it was subtitled. I go listen to it. I think there's a little part of it, but you know what? That's how they can activate everyone. They get a 0 point, a still point where you get all the magnetics. Boom. That's going to just go like a Carrington event. So they can use that solar eclipse like a Carrington event with people that have been graphinated. Let me tell you, if I can think about it, they probably have. So we haven't got any questions. We're actually probably okay for today. So everyone's going to put their thinking caps up. We're going to do a little prayer. We're going to visualize me in this place in a nice little piece of land by the springs, lots of light coming in and away from the towers and on a nice little flat thing. And even if I take this thing off the grid, I'm okay with going with the rest of my solar panels and doing an outhouse. It wouldn't be the worst thing, and it wouldn't be the first time, and it won't be probably the last time. So we're going to visualize me in my environment in a new location down into the woods. Okay? Down in the woods. That's where we all need to go. Down to the woods. Okay, so we're okay. I think I'm going to do actually something Sunday night. Okay, I'm going to start bringing some people in, like Dr. Ann Blake Tracy. I'm going to start bringing some of my friends in. Rather than talking behind the scenes, we might bring them in here. So Brent talks about, I got 3 twisted copper rings now, 2 small and 1 medium. Yeah, take a listen. Tony Pantallero's got some stuff. He's got his things out there. Actually, he's on right now too, probably. So he's on his Discord. I think he's probably on his Discord. He could be on his Discord. I could look right now. We'll see if he's on his Discord. He's on his Discord. Okay. So how many people know about piton or tone P, whatever you want to talk about? I'm going to show his thing here. Okay. Like I said, I don't have to agree 100% with people, but I can certainly have that gift of discernment. I appreciate what we have in common, but sometimes I can even appreciate sometimes subtle nuances and differences in there. So that is some of the things, again, people can look at. So let's just take a look at that. I'm going to show you that because this is the people that you need to ask, right? We need to ask the questions. And I can rely on some of his experience here. So I'm going to just show you a couple more things. I'm going to the essential oil book first. Okay. I've put that link in there for you. This is the essential oil desk book, 644 pages. Just like that. I'm so on top of it right now. Okay. So there we go. That's the 7th edition. There's more, but this will do it. Okay. You can go from all the different oils. That's what I mean. Just because someone says it's natural and whatever, pure, it may not even be therapeutic, edible. Okay. You got to know how they like to do stuff. So remember, I want you to think about those 12 cranial nerves and the peripheral nerves and the central nervous system that Sabrina's been talking about. And I want you to see how it's working, right? It's transmuting. Okay. So if you don't know what an oil is, okay, or how to do it, it will tell you this, okay? I counted. There's 20-some different ways here. I made up 3 more. It's not in the book yet, but we'll get to it. Okay, I put oils into my yoni pearls, in my yoni steams, okay? And that's what I'm talking about. Do you guys see that in here? Not a nebulizer with the water. We're talking, it's a diffuser. You actually take the bottle itself, and the bottle is fine misted. That'll cover 1,000 square foot home in half an hour. Totally different than putting 3 drops and hoping it will go somewhere. Okay. Doesn't do the same thing. Compresses, acupressure. I know acupuncture guys that actually dip their needles. Okay. They don't have the tuning fork in here. They don't have the biofeedback in here. They don't have any of that, but how to do topical stuff. Okay. All those things are in here. Okay. Shoes, water, misters, wash your food down. It's not just about smelling, for gosh sakes. It's about getting it in here. Direct inhalation. See what it says? When I talked about vaginal yoni pearls and vaginal steams and enemas, look what it says. Vaginal retention, rectal retention. Okay? So all those things are actually in here. There's a whole section in here as well. Single oils, blends, nutrition. Did you hear me? Wolfberries, hormones. Oh, why didn't we put people on essential oils and get a hormone balancer or some like yarrow or maca? Oh, no, that would be too easy. There's a whole section in here about how to do your home, healthy choices for children. So yes, guess what? Toiletries, personal care, whatever, animal care is in here. So there's a wealth of information. So as you go through here, you can learn about every little oil. Not all of them, but some of them are in here. The majority of them are in here. There's a couple hundred. Okay. Talk about different things too. Nutrition. Hormone support. Oh gosh. Instead of transgendering, why don't we just all look at this, right? It's only a couple pages. It's not brilliant. You know, enough what for them or what? Toothpaste, dental, oral care, all that sort of thing. Soaps. And then how many of you guys have fur babies? Okay. You can do certain oils, certain ones on raindrop. There's only about a dozen you don't use, but I've done that anyway and it still worked. So don't worry about that. If I have a dog dying, I use what's on hand. Okay, so there's the massage part. You can all learn massage and cranial sacral and blah, blah, blah. How do you do the raindrop? Oh yeah, by the way, there's all the medical, like, you know, stuff for it. Okay, also in the spiritual, mental, or the emotional and the biofield. Okay, there's the emotional stuff. Feeling anxious, upset, whatever. This is a whole specialty. You don't teach most of it, but you know, there's enough in here for people to go in. Almost everyone, by the way, I'm getting everyone on liver gallbladder flushes. Okay. I'm getting everyone on doing colon and liver cleansing. You have to do this. This is where these little flukes hang out. This is where the poisons hang out. This is like number 1 and number 2. And my favorite subject, alkalinity. Importance of alkalinity. Okay, not being too alkaline, just right. Okay, so all those different things in here. You know, there's just a wealth of information. Cleansing. Oh, there's the master cleanse. There's fasting. Okay, and this stuff is like, to me, there's colon hydrotherapy. There's how to make Vita juice, which is amazing. This is done in Europe. Beets, celery, carrot, white radish, red potato, guys, and some ginger. Okay. You can add celery and stuff in there too. Grapefruit, grape and grape juices, but all the enzymes, everything you wanted to know, and then some is in this book. So it's herbology and stuff like that. Okay. How many of you know what the pH of the food is that you're eating? Oh, by the way, we talk about residual ash pH, so it's a little different. It's what it does with your body. So why do we alkalize with alfalfa grass and barleys and greens? Because it's plus 30, 29, 33. Oh, let's look at the coffee. Uh-oh, minus 25. Big difference. Big difference. Minus 25 there, guys. That's terrible, isn't it? So that means you need basically about 12 cups of water to neutralize that. So usually just doing half a teaspoon of bicarbonate is not going to do it. Okay, so there you go. Okay, so even that, there's a wealth of information. You know, that's where I cut my teeth on this stuff, was like 30 years ago. And there's a great thing. Sulfur, like DSMO. Radiation. Oh, EMF. Guess what? We've been talking about radiation for 30 years. Okay, so there are some different things. Now, here's all your conditions A to Z. Okay, so almost everything is in here that you could think of. There's a formula, or just go into YouTube. Okay, it's all in here. There's your common names. There's your herbs. There's all your different, you know, footnotes and blah, 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 and charts. And, oh, it's got an index. So that's something that you might actually really, really enjoy. So hopefully I think there's a great place with that, right? So anyway, isn't that just amazing? There is such a wealth of information in there. You know, it's one of my favorite things to give out to people. I mean, you can get the books too, but I mean, there's a wealth of information in there. So Brett was saying you listened to him on Substack today, right? Now, some of the different things, I got to scoot up here. It says, I do. Dara's in here. Topaz is in there. I'm in the same place now, only solar panels now. And so, you know, that's an important thing. I have a fold out one for the camper, right? Now I got to get the bigger ones, right? Or I can attach where you can go to, you know, some on either side. So I've got 4, again, standalone portable ones, right? With my NeuroVIZR. So again, I can do that today. So again, ozone colonics, buying an ozone generator. Seriously, put some essential oils on. They're actually more, you know, put a drop of hydrogen peroxide in. Okay, all those things are amazing in there. So one of the things on there is, you know, get it going, you know, get that stuff in there. You might not, like, who knows what's going on. I'm watching things like New York Prepper. Would think I'm not looking and talking and chatting with these guys, or the Rex Bears, or the David Saritas, or, you know, different people in the forces, right? No one's going to know. No one is going to know, right? And again, having those things, Wallapini, having those things underneath the ground, having a root cellar. Everything's getting nipped above the ground. And I can show you pictures that it was just bizarre today. I went and I took some pictures. I was like, get out of town. I hadn't been down here, right? We've had no snow in this village for like ages, right? There's my like fun little clouds here. Here, I'll just show you. They kind of look like plating cigar ships, but whatever. There's not a thing. I'm in the middle of the mountains. You can see it looks like sugar dusting on the mountains there across from me, where all the petroglyphs are. Okay. Nothing on the street, but they threw something from 3 weeks ago and just threw a pile of it and went, and you got to remember, we're above zero here. I mean, it's not melting. It won't melt with a lighter, won't melt with a propane torch. Why would I think that would go? So I went up to look at it. I went, doesn't this look stupid? But if you look through the trees, you can see there's just half the mountain is like gone, but this patch isn't melting. Like, what the hell? Okay, we all know about that stuff. We know what's in there. I read the results. We've done them in 3 different major cities. Doesn't matter. They're all over. You know, my biofeedback can do it. They're just not going to accept it for results. But I saw Dr. Spencer the other day was on, and he's been talking about it, right? He's got a biofeedback to see. And he said, I've got a quantum machine, got a radionic thing. They're not showing it to you. They're not showing you exactly what we're doing, but we're doing it. And so one of the things in here, when you take a look at it, and I'm just going to go in here, we're going to take one little look here. So we are missing the Tony. Okay, so there is somewhere is there. Piton is for Pantelleresco Tony, or Tony Pantelleresco. Okay, he's got a Discord. You can go up there. He's got it on all of his Substacks. So he's actually in there right now. Let's see if we can listen for 1 sec.
Having to have any. Oops, someone's got their mic open.
Hopefully he doesn't realize it's me. Shh. Okay, I almost got caught. Okay. He's in the middle of talking, but what happens is once this show is done.
Okay, so when we're looking at the aspect of what's going on.
This is live.
Okay. And what we're dealing with.
See what's going on here? But what's going to happen is when he's done.
You got to pay attention, and you got to start thinking in terms of, what am I going to do? How am I going to do it? I mean, even living in a home can get you in trouble because now you have a tethering spot. Now, if you're off somewhere, and you squat on some land in the middle of nowhere, no one's going to know you're there. Not for a little bit, anyway. So, like I said, it's important and imperative that you really realize what where we're at today. Even if you you bunker down inside the system, which you could do. There was a movie called Elysium. I think it was called Elysium, where you had to inject the drug into your neck every day. So that would keep you in a state of sedation. What a lot of people did is they got into this apartment complex and they were able to live there. And they had their own society within the society. Now, there was always a threat that there would be a raid or whatever. But that's another concept you can think about too. You're living in the middle of everything, but you're not going out. You're not integrating with people. So, and this is where this is all going too, because people that take these chips are going to be having them implemented.
Anyway, you're getting the idea. So if you want to go into there is the invite to the server. I'm actually going to put this in now. Oops. Oh, there it is. I'm going to copy that link. And I'm going to put that in the room. Okay. There are some people that have a wealth of information. Okay. Oops, I did it again. Okay, so hopefully I'll try and do that. So we're going to look at tone P or P-ton. You're going to look at Substack. You're going to look at, for some reason it won't let me copy for you guys, Discord. Now there's a whole bunch of stuff coming down about Discord that we're looking at going elsewhere. Okay, there's stuff to do with ID and stuff like that. So I want people to be very, very well in there. So Dream Dust says we have no snow here in central Washington, just like you. They're dusting around us. Yeah. And I could show you pictures they've been sending me of the chickens. We're getting blue flashes at night. People are calling me their houses are shaking. They feel like something's coming up. I mean, when 300 people make comments in the last month in our areas between here and Nelson, Kelsigar, you can't deny it. You cannot deny this stuff that, everyone's hearing the hum and they're, what they haven't heard. We've been hearing it forever. So I'm glad they're tuning in now. But, yeah, at least got 2 feet, at least in northern New Brunswick. Excellent. Okay, well, we're great. I'm going over to Tony's show for a bit. He will be on. Now, the one thing about his is after he does all this stuff in about 2-3 hours, when he's done his show, and then he uploads it to Substack and he uploads it to Rumble and everywhere else, then he will come in. This is a place usually from about probably 9 Pacific till probably at least 3 in the morning. There's a 6-hour window these people will be talking, passing herbs, everything else, and passing information. Again, you can take things with a grain of salt and see how they resonate. And again, I've also looked at some of the synergy as well. So Sabrina Wallace has got some really great stuff here as well. She's on her synergy channel. So make sure you take a look at the Odyssey on there. And again, take these things in small bites. Okay, on that. So one of the things in it sometimes has to be small bites. It may not be what you want to hear. And again, let's get to the data. When they're giving you these things, There's the synergy channel right there. Okay. So if you're on Twitter and X, okay, there's the synergy channel. Okay. Lots of stuff is coming down. Okay. She's even putting about some of this. Like I said, we're all kind of talking the same thing. Even Tony's talking about where to live and where not. Okay. So different things in here. Okay. So people are passing information to the best that they can. You know, I was using something rather than an analog Tesla coil, some of this high frequency. I'm still getting some great results. Like I said, check your stuff. All these things. And she's just redoing it too. You know, color puncture, same thing. What's biofeedback doing? We're doing with sound and color and everything else, like acutonics, color puncture. I don't like the sound of that. But anyway, on here. Okay. What are these different things in oils and stuff like that? There's a lot of stuff in here. Okay. They keep doing this again. Like I said, find the language. And I always suggest you go back to your mother's tongue. You want to start doing some really cool stuff, go back to your mother's tongue. Oh, by the way, so if you want mine, okay, here is my homepage, right? There's my X page coming up in here. Okay, so I'm up here. There's the profile page coming up here for me. So I'm on here. I do a lot of stuff in here. Remember, a lot of things, like I said, I can't get here and I have to cut and paste things, right? There's a lot of stuff there. There was the stuff if you missed. I did a whole thing on child protection. Just laws and child protection and trafficking, right? Some of the different things, like I said, some of the titles today. Okay, all sorts of things are up in here. And again, these get cut and paste for the most part and then put over to my Facebook, right? Again, these people are having problems. They should have been nipped in the first bud. But the thing is, a lot of the people with the injections, we can't go there. We got to look after the people that we can right now. This is like, you know, wheat from chaff, you know, let the dead bury the dead and the living can look after the living. So that's part of it in there. So those are some of the different things that, you know, might be helpful to you. The other thing as well, Zach's Substack. I talked about that. If you have any questions about any of these things, silver, zeolites, again, we were all saying this 10, 15 years ago, right? You know, like I said, there's some amazing stuff in here, you know. So do take a look on that. And again, like I said, when you're looking at some of these channels, again, take it with a grain of salt. Okay, there's the Odyssey, you know, channels and stuff like that. You know, like I said, there's enough stuff in here. There's some PDFs that are coming out. And again, I just tap in once in a while. Okay, I don't need to every day, but I talked about the central nervous system and the peripheral system. She's talking about it here, but there's a PDF. So sometimes what you'll see is a PDF, and those are, you know, just easy to go through and then kind of get you up to speed. So sometimes, again, this is a lot of like computer and high tech on here. There's a whole thing to do with the EpiPen files, you know, all sorts of stuff are in here. You know, there's a thing that she did on nano. There's a thing that she did on the zeolites, all that stuff. Okay. And that's why she made a couple of videos actually. And she thanked me for what I was doing because I operate the radionics and the Rife and the scalar and the bioresonance totally different. Okay. So we can have a mutual appreciation society here. So again, you always have to take things in and do your own interpretation. I don't have to go with people's way they look, the way they worship, the books that they use. Okay. A lot of that stuff to me, sometimes when people are talking, it can be like dispelling. It's like listening to the doctor. It's like listening to the priest craft and the lawyer craft and the doctor craft. I don't have to go for all parts of it. Okay. I like to look at the tech myself. And again, language is important. Okay. If your mom, grandma on your mom's side, if you want to do ancestral and genetics, you better be doing that. As I talked a little bit about, I don't know if you were in that thing. Solana was in there doing something probably about 6 weeks ago. And I was trying to talk and I got shut down and talked over. And so one of the things what I was trying to impress upon people is the importance of your mother's light language, light code languages, right? That's your mother's tongue. So when I talk adversarial, that is dualistic or parallel, right? I don't work into that. That's adversarial. That's the left hand and the right hand, the black and the white. That's not how there is. There's a lot of gray in this. And so one of the things I said is maybe switch the language. Okay. So we talked, remember how I showed you 0 point? That's called peace. Not this, not this, not this. Where do you want to be? Where you can go into the possibilities and change things. You cannot go into fighting unless we go into a point and think outside the box, so to speak. And so the language is, if I said I'm going to fight, block, resist, boom, right? You can go into the 0 point and recreate things and let the energy work against these people, right? Like I said, I'm using their stuff, but I'm reverse engineering it. You want to come at it? You can learn. It's the art of transmutation. That's what it is. You're doing things benevolently. Okay. There are galactic laws, Star Nations laws, and 6 treaties. That is what we have a Star Nations galactic court for. That's why you had clan mothers. We had treaties. You violate the peace, there's another set of courts and councils that will look after it. Okay. There is a thing about the power of life and death. And when you violate things, some of these are executable offenses. And the people that need to deal with it have to get back into this. But like I said, there are many different classifications of law. And if you want to play in the private sector, you're not a sovereign. So there's all those things and stuff like that are totally different. And so Brent says, everyone claiming their knowledge about parasite detox I see on my feeds are using zeolite. A lot of them are, absolutely. Bentonite, zeolite, favorite moped. Again, there's a big difference from doing something in a powder form compared to putting some water, to putting some distillation, to putting some 1,000 parts per million. How about I actually know of where there's zeolites and silvers at 20,000 parts per million being sold by some of these people. Okay. They may have some great stuff. I actually love some of the products because, again, even with my stuff, there might be some great stuff that I use. I might have tons of biofeedback in here. Doesn't mean I use all of it. I've got a dozen plus a $50,000 machine in that room that's still collecting dust. But that was my basic. That was my training wheels. If I really want to go out and look at it, I can go do that. I have it. But I basically took everything out of my $50,000 machine and redid it here. But in here, this is a very cool thing. If you want to go into something, like I said, get a hold of me. I can get you one of these Quanta caps. And what you do, if you want, you can talk to me or use my email. You can upload your voice and image, but I have to send you it first. I have to send you the link. You look at the link, you upload your voice. It comes to me. I do a little mini session, and then you can listen to it for like a week. Okay. And you will always, always have all the solfegeal tones and all the different frequencies, 15 different base codes. So maybe something happens and you don't have access to it. But if I have it on an iPad and I have a solar panel, I will always have it. And so one of the things here is that you've got to look at, the parts per million and what kind of bentonite and stuff like that. Again, having food grade doesn't mean anything. All the zeolite pretty well being put out there. It's food grade. David Wolf, it's food grade. It's food grade. Dr. Ed Group, it's food grade. So again, I'm looking at doing, and maybe one of the things I missed, and Nicole, you've got a great thing here, is that essential oils are chelators. Did you know lemon essential oil will chelate out fluoride and chlorine? Okay, a lot of your essential oils, we were binding mercury. There was something called Juva Cleanse, celery, helichrysum, potato, basil, in there, but it was, and ledum. And so you know what? Those essential oils, we were actually having clients were peeing out mercury. And they took all these things out. They don't want you to know it, but some of us still remember. So one of the things is that they were peeing out mercury within 24 hours. We were finding it in the urinalysis. Okay, so there's a lot of things. I mean, there are ways to test. There's biofeedback. You can go into clinics like I know True Health Canada. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're in the States or Canada. It doesn't matter. But they can send out for hair samples, right? So if you want to do it that way, I mean, again, going out to an external lab, but they're doing it through hair analysis and doing all the heavy metals and stuff, right? You could send your horse, your dog, your whatever, right? And again, this is the importance of knowing stuff before starting to put on patches and doing supplementation. Have a baseline. you know, and I really like some of this. This is like, to me, 80%, 90% is accurate as drawing blood and biopsies and stuff. I don't know if we're going to be able to keep this on the air, but we'll see. I better transfer it before midnight to Rumble. So if you have questions, get a hold of me. If you have clients, if you've got family, if you've got people you're concerned about, I do one-to-one. I am speaking to groups right now. So a lot of people, I had a woman just get 3-4 friends in the room. I had another girlfriend up in Grand Prairie. She got 30 people, another house party here for 30 people, another one for 30, 40 people, right? You know, so these are different things. If you want, you know, have a party, invite some tea, doing essential oils. You didn't know we could do this. Like I said, I just turned down a whole naturopathic clinic because they were all injected, right? There's species, one of its, you know, clinics there, right? But again, you got to take it into perspective. What's going to help you, right? Like I said, the next couple months, I think, especially going into August and July. So we're not talking that far. Karen, is the electric enema best to get us down, and then a gravity? There, okay, if you're talking about an electric enema, there's an electric enema that looks like a water pick. I'm not sure if that's what you're talking about. You can get a gravity bag, which is basically like the clear ones from Covid and Kendall. They're about $5-7 in here. Some people, there's the rubber, and that's maybe all you can get. I'm not a big one of red rubber, but you know, people do it like the heat, you know, the hot water bottles. I like the clear one. You can get a bucket. So the buckets give you a little bit more. So you can get it in metal or in plastic on Amazon. You can make your own. You can do actually, if you look up how to do your own Kalima board and order some of the few parts in, that's one way. So again, I like having colon hydrotherapy machines. I really do. I really miss having mine in here. So it shoots the water with the pressure. Then you're probably, are you not, maybe you're talking about a colon hydrotherapy machine. An electric enema is different. So there's electric enemas. You can also get adapters. They use it a lot in, we'll just say, certain sexual preferences, like, but in Tantra too. But you can actually turn, and I just had a client the other day, you can actually turn your shower head. You can get a shower head adapter, and actually it looks like a speculum, and you grease it up rectally, and you actually use your shower. Like literally when they say, what are you going to do? Put a hose up? Well, you can. So that's a great question. I could actually come back to that in a sec. But anyway, I have a colonic actually section that I did on my Facebook, if you're there, which I think you are. But in here, let's just go take a look because I can answer that question fairly. Again, a lot of people we're speaking apples and not apples and oranges here. So let me just go in here. So on this, if we go into the photos and I go into my albums, there's something that looks like what nurses used to actually be, which was colon hydrotherapists, aromatherapists, and herbology. I've got a whole thing in here. There's 146 things I've put. So I'm not saying you have to go through all of them, but I went through what a colonic is versus an enema versus a Kalima versus wood methods and versus gravity. So this is a section that you need to probably look through in here and how it started with the things. I'm not the biggest wonder if you do one coffee enema. I'm not about doing continual coffee enemas, but there's another thing there. We call it the Vasti and stuff like that. These are things in Ayurvedic medicine. There's a cute little book I show from The Healthy Life at Marcus Rothkrantz. He's got a download. Bach flowers are used. Herbs are in there. Remember that your navel has apparently 72,000. I know who counted them all. But anyway, the chakras and the nadis in the belly button. And again, we're going in what's behind. So you can do combinations of it. So when actually nurses, we knew how to do things on here. But once you go in and we get through, there's some great stuff on Jensen's. If you haven't got these books, these are amazing for Jensen's. You're all about learning about enemas. Again, this is an enema. Like I said, people will use a rubber, let's like hit the rubber mat on here. Again, you can buy these. You can get them quite often with a couple, like a plain rectal, different rectal ones, and vaginal. Just don't mix them up. This is the bucket. And this is a bulb. These are handy to have in case you need to do stuff. You can also get these elongated tubes. You know, if I had to do a child, pediatric, cats, dogs, whatever, horses. This is maybe what, I know if this is what you're thinking about, this is what an actual electric enema is. You can get these online. So it's like a water pick. Don't put your water pick in there, okay? You need very specific things, okay? And again, what are we saying? Water. Some people do coffee. I love herb teas, garlic, probiotics. You can open up almost anything, essential oils, Epsom salt, things like that, celery juice. These are a variety of things that you will see as well. There's another electric enema bottle. So I don't know if you've seen that one. Okay, versus my rooms. Okay, so we're just setting one up here. There's going to be, like I said, I just heard some horror stories. Actually, registered nurses doing them in the Okanagan, a couple of them. Again, they really don't know. Even if they've been trained on some of this, they just don't have it. And the reason why is because you're bypassing, once you put something into the rectum or the vagina, boom, it's just grabbed up. Okay, you don't have to break it down in the digestive system. This is the main line. I know lots of people that do cannabis this way, by the way. Okay, so don't do colonoscopies. They can be very, very dangerous. And usually when they leave that, because they leave the dyes in, then I usually end up seeing those clients because they get worse. This again, and if this could be classified as, I guess, electric, but this is actually the colon hydrotherapy machine. This is a Prime Pacific machine. They're ranging between about 7 to 11,000. So this is actually, this can work on gravity, and actually it can also work on pressure, or both, or none. Okay. So those are one things. And the other thing is called a Woods method. So if you want, take a look at the Woods method, which is kind of like a Klima board. Those are actually really kind of cool too. So I really prefer looking at that because you're doing all the meridians at the same time. So you can combination oils, you can combine all this stuff. Like I said, you can put the right oils in your enema thing, work on the right hurts, start working on the emotional. Emotional stuff is huge. Enemas are the most incredible thing, right? You're moving everything, you're draining everything down through the bottom here. You know, aloe vera is an amazing thing actually as well. Everyone should be drinking aloe vera several times, and aloe vera in there as well for enemas, colonics, and stuff too. I frequently do all the implant waters and crystal waters in my enemas and colonics through the genus radionic, through the power implanter oscillating plates. We oscillate and vibrate it, the water, to that level. Okay, all fun things. Those are all different things in here for nutrition. Like I said, you can use in here. I think that pretty well gets my thing in here. So this is actually just, again, you can do it on the floor, in the bathroom, whatever you want. I use it on the bed or the couch or whatever. Coat hangers are amazing. So is taking a coat hanger with some string. Okay. And these, again, this is actually, again, another form of an electric one, but I have a whole thing on that there too. So that's an Aquanet device, and it comes out of Prime Pacific out of North Vancouver, and they train people there for about a week or so. I think 3 to 5 days they're still doing. So you would have to film them for training, and I think, like I said, that would be it. So hopefully, does that get your question about the electric enemas? In your photos, it shoots the water with pressure. So I think we got that. I tried to find your interview with Kerry Cassidy. Reworked. So I'll put that up here because it's a new, she had to re-release it. Okay. So the link that I put up 3 days ago is not the link that came out last night. So there's the new link on that. So yeah, it depends. My very first ones, when I put it up, the minute we got it, the minute we did it, I put it up and it got taken down just because, well, she was putting on makeup for the first 8 minutes that no one saw except on the rerun. So she took out all the makeup and whatever. We were having a chit chat there for maybe about a minute or two. So anyway, she just cut out 8 minutes and we just start talking. So this is the new link. There we go. So hopefully we'll be doing some more stuff, and I'm really excited to be doing something with Danny Henderson, maybe, and some of these Beverly Rhodes and some of the other people that were in some of her other one. There was a roundtable she did with a bunch of women, but you know what? We need to start working and see where we can get cohesive, right? Because a lot of times she was, you know, a lot of these people were totally against tech. And when I explained what it really was, there's no EMF, there's no 5G, there's none of this weird, you know, W-band stuff that Sabrina is talking about, then boom, you know, these are some of the things, like I said. And if you've got house plants, you should have at least 10 to 20 plants, snake plants, ferns, and aloe vera, right? I mean, aloe vera, you can go into Costco and buy a 3-foot cactus blade of aloe vera. Okay, so these are great to have in there. And like I said, you can get a lot of, even the top ones, you can get even on things. You can get aloe vera powder, by the way. Okay, there's all sorts of ways to get aloe vera too. So anyway, you guys are having a great one. I'm over to Tony's. Well, this has been a long one today. So we're going to end the stream here. And again, if you want, I'll put my email down there, clanmother13@gmail.com. I also have another one. I don't check it that often, but calm13. And that's at proton, the old protonmail.com. So those are some of the different ways you can get a hold of me. And no such thing as a silly question, right? You know, you're going to see a lot of correlation. So find out what resonates with you. I really think it's great. But I really like this idea that we can play some of these amazing tones. You know, like I said, I've got millions of tones in here. I don't have a million tuning forks. And there's no way you're going to be able to get it. Remember, we have all those things coded for a reason. You can play all the forks you want and do all the essential oils. That doesn't necessarily get them in the right frequency or in the right biofield and stuff like that. So like I said, we can do all that fun stuff here. And we'll just leave you with a few minutes here of playing. And we'll all take a moment of silence. Silence. So there we go. Let's just take some breathers and relax. In through the nose, out through the mouth. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Nice deep breaths. About 432. I want you to notice where that's running. Okay. Nice deep breaths in there. Get your tools. Okay. I use these with the clients, with the genius, with their fun light stuff, right? This is just too cool these days. Okay. Enjoy that. Okay. So what did you notice? Give me one word what you're noticing in the last couple minutes as we wind down here. I'm going to jump into the thing. So I'm feeling just peace. That's my word. So I'm going to type peace in. You can type in whatever word fits for you. And I could feel the tingling. I noticed tingling. I have peaceful tingling. What did you notice? Tell us what you noticed in here. Right? It is calming because we're taking that excess. We're working in the biofield. We're playing, actually we don't work, we play in the biofield, right? High, low tones in here. Heart center for sure, peaceful, cosmic, mix it, heart center, just relaxed, isn't it, right? So this is part of the Quanta cap if you haven't seen this, right? You know, if you haven't had your Quanta cap, call me or call one of the therapists. I want to show you, oh, I thought about one more thing. Okay, so one of the things that you're seeing in here that we have been able to do is that we are now coming in. I've asked for this for like years, and it actually is coming through because I'm all excited. And I want to thank Ryan Williams because what we're doing is that he is actually set up. I've asked for a mat because I used to have it when we did peri-steam hydrotherapy. So one of the things in here, and again, if you want, make sure take a look at Inside Health Apps. There is now a new directory. Okay, and this is really, really, really important. So this directory is a map of the actual practitioners. Okay, and this is something that we're just getting in here now. We have a map of the practitioners here for all the different therapists. So I'm going to screen share that. I bet you a lot of people haven't seen this. Yeah, I know this tingling is great, isn't it? Do essential oils and then do that, you know. Take a look at this. Okay, I asked for it. I'm getting it. We got it. These are actually the clinics and things. These are just actually the noted therapists. This isn't even all the users. We wouldn't have, like, I mean, everything would be filled. But these are actually the therapists right now. And so if you want to get into that, you want to help people, or you want to be somewhere near area, okay? So those are some of the people up here, okay? Look lower way up there. Okay, so if you haven't filled this in or looked at it, actually that's where this incident just occurred, by the way. And I talked about what happened to those children. There's Tumbler Ridge, Grand Prairie, Fort St. John, Chetwynd, all in here, Dawson Creek, Bear Lake, there's Grand Cache, McBride, all those things in here, Quesnel. Hello, Quesnel. Anyway, there we go. Right, so all those stuff in here, and then getting down into our areas, right? I'm really happy because I've helped set up a lot of these actually. You know, so I'm going to bring some of the chiropractors in that are using this, and medical doctors, and we're going to start doing some cool things. But look at that. Isn't that getting cool? So we are getting around there. So if you haven't looked at this, do take a look at this. Okay, or give me a call and I'll send that in there. So if you hadn't take a look at it, this is the new, and again, if you want to get into that. So I think it's a really important thing to go into. Actually, I'll put this link here. You're looking for people in there. I'll put it in the chat room. You guys can take a look at it there. Oops, that looks a little scary. Okay, let's take a look at that. So do take a look here. Okay. So, you're on the island there. That's great. See, there's a couple of people of us in here. So, you know, if you want to get the Quanta app, if people haven't used it, it's a separate app. And on that. So if you guys want to, we can get together, maybe do a separate Zoom or something, and then we can put that out to the general population. But, you know, do take a look at it. Yeah, it is a separate app that you have to download, you know, on here. And then, yeah, if you want some of the libraries, get a hold of me. You know how to get a hold of me on Facebook or anything else. I've got a whole new set. Someone just called me the other day and said, I want your new libraries. Every 6 months, they get a hold of me. Just load me up, they say. Okay, because my libraries are not on the public stores. So anyway, you guys have a great night. Bonne nuit. And yes, hopefully we'll be looking for land and in a new spot situating here within a matter of weeks. So off to things we go. Happy, happy, happy. Ciao.